G'day and welcome to the Inforunners. I'm Execute, joined today by Algared. How you doing, bud?
As I usually say, I'm alive.
Ugh, yes, I'm barely. It is a balmy 0 degrees here. Oh, don't you just love it? Yeah, so I've got officially got the Ugg boots on, and I'm a bit rugged up, but how are you doing?
Well, it's not quite 0 degrees here. It's a nice 8 degrees here, but it is peanut down.
Yeah. So for those of you that don't use the metric system, 0 is freezing, 100 is boiling, so therefore I'm freezing my ass off literally. Anyway,
Yep.
right.
And I'm almost drowning because it's just pouring. So, yeah.
Yep, so our fellow Inforunner, the Astropub, is already streaming, and he's actually doing the meshing test today. We won't be doing that, but that is the kind of hint from the title.
Yeah.
But we will be taking your questions, so please get those in, and we'll look at answering them.
And hi from JW. Woohoo. Hi from Kansas, he says. 92 degrees Fahrenheit here. Yeah, that's about...
I think
I can't remember what it is. I think it's about 30 or 37.
I'm not gonna try and convert it.
Pack on Arc said 37 degrees in 37 degrees in Texas. Yeah, that's a bit warm.
The only thing I know about Kansas is that's where Superman comes from. That's like all I know, and it's not even real.
And Dorothy.
Oh, Dorothy. I don't. Well, again, your age is showing. Yep.
It was.
Yep.
You know, we're
Cool.
not in Kansas anymore, Turtle.
Hmm.
You know, so yeah.
All right. And my coughing has started. Right. Let's get the bot going. Or also, supposedly, I haven't checked today's message of the day, but as of yesterday, they were looking at getting Eva Cardi patch out as well. I'll check that real quickly on Spectrum, just see what comes up.
Yeah, that might be good. I might get a chance to play. I've got a few things I've got to do.
Cool,
but this weekend I'm hoping I can get a chance to play. Yeah. To relax and not worry and unstress and all that other rubbish.
Alright, just loading it up now. Let's have a quick look. I'll probably run over. I haven't actually... Yep, no, you're there. Right, so here in the SC testing chat, it says... We have a live... 324, we have an Eva Cardi candidate build right now. In the internal testing goes off well. It'll release to Eva Cardi later in the evening. Okay, so we could go for Eva Cardi as well. Interesting.
That would be nice. Bearded said on Twitter they were close to pushing the Eva Cardi this weekend. Yes, well, according to the notes, they say it might go tonight, so that's even better.
Yep.
Thank you for that, Packer or Packet.
Well, it's already Saturday for us, so I think he's in the same type of ballpark. So yeah, the game runs on American time, unfortunately, which I think is really stupid. It should run on DMT. We are a global game after all, but yeah.
Yep. It would be nice to see them use GMT.
Yep, agreed. They always put up I think it's like New York time, and they put up GMT or LA time and GMT. But yeah, it'd be nice.
I can never remember what the times are, to be honest.
Yes.
Always throws me.
All right. Let's see how the bot goes now. Let's have a bit of time. Starting bot, starting invoked. Sweet, we are good. Right. No questions. All right, let me test. I'm doing a test. Question. Test. Okay, she's working. No questions. All right, stream's over. Cool. That was a great stream. Did you have a good time? Yeah, that was a good time. Right, yeah. What is the old man Hurston and Tasmanian devil?
You'll be a Tasmanian devil. I want to know what's going on. So, how are you, X? How are you?
So I actually booked my tickets for the UK this week. That was daunting. And yeah, they're like to see all that money just go. But they're done, so I'm fully set up for CitizenCon now. And kind of committed to those times. I'm going to stay with John Citizen for most of my stay there, so he's been kind enough to put me up. And then I'm going to be there for a week with you. We're going to share a room, me and you, in Manchester, and we're there from the Wednesday to the Wednesday. So yeah, I'm going to be there before and after. yeah, so it's gonna be interesting to see what happens. We've got a few things to kind of get in place before then, but hopefully we can stream it. No one's attempted it.
Yeah.
I think they've just been too preoccupied with I spent all this money, so I'm going to enjoy myself. Um, and I don't think it's a big ask for us to just spend 15 minutes between the panels type of thing, um, talking to you guys and talking a little bit beforehand either. Um, and so a lot of the stream will be, especially beforehand, will be you and I like also talking to people. So it'll probably be like a like a parrot on the shoulder type of thing with the camera. I assume. So it'll kind of give people a sense of what it's like to be there, but I'm not going to really go out of my way. Like I'll answer questions and stuff like that, but it's really hard to to get a rig for that. So I'm still trying to work around things like that. Like I'm trying to see if I can lend a laptop from someone, and I think the other thing you're going to bring your tablet, aren't you? If you come, so
Yeah.
we need something so we can read questions while we're walking around and stuff like that. So
Yep.
hopefully it should all pan out.
Our phone should do a job, but the tablet would make it just that little bit easier, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's
I've already looked into to phone plans and stuff like that. So they have a mobile plan company called EE in the UK, and I think it was a £38, and you get 1 month, and it's unlimited data. So that's probably what I'm going to go with, something like that, and then we just chuck that into one of our phones. And I'm also been looking at a potential mobile router instead as well, and then it would just everything can connect to that mobile router, and you and I can just walk around and no issues.
yeah,
So
and
yeah,
that's been one of the issues we've been tossing up. What's the internet going to be like? Is it going to be
yeah.
old man Al Hurston's internet, or is it going to be yours?
Well, they have 5G that works in Manchester, so
Yeah.
I am 4G would do it easily though, because like I do
Yep.
this stream on roughly the same connection as that, so I think we could definitely pull it off. But if we wanted to go to say 4K and just do that stream in 4K, which we have the capability to do with that camera, then and maybe it's just a one-off for CitizenCon to do it in 4K. Which would be better than I think the official stream.
Yep.
I don't know. I don't know if we can pull it off, but that's the type of things I'm looking at, and it's all coming down to funding at the moment because
I know that.
we didn't even raise everything we needed to raise just to get me there, so I've had to also dip into my own finances, which is not very big at all.
No, it's something.
Yeah, I live very much hand to mouth. So yeah, I had to call in a few favors, as you know.
Yeah, I think we're both in a very similar boat. I'm just trying to get for those wondering what I'm doing, I've got the tablet up with Twitch, and it doesn't want to play nice and give me the chat, which is really frustrating because that's the only reason I'm using it to try and get a chat, and it's not doing it. It's really annoying.
You're right there, sir. Hey, you right there?
So yeah, so that's what I'm doing. And answer to that question, in answer to the how am I going? Yeah, I've still got the aches and pains in the chest from my recent heart troubles or issues or concerns. It's frustrating because I won't do it. Let's see if I can update digital. Because all the tests say, yeah, you're not having a heart attack. It's just this horrible feeling of aches and pains that are in the chest all the time, and I don't like that.
Yeah, that doesn't sound.
I keep feeling like I'm going into Zeus mode. I don't like it. I don't like it one bit.
Yeah. So essentially, does it? So that sounds like they don't actually know what's wrong. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, pretty much. Well,
Okay.
the specialist says, what does he call it? He calls it a left branching bunch block, which is that means the nerves, the bunch in the heart aren't triggering right, so the heartbeat's kind of
irregular. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, and if that can, if left untreated, that can cause clots and other stuff. So joyous stuff. But everything so far says all the blood tests say it's not a heart attack. The aches related, the pain's related, but it's not a heart attack. But just and it's not very comfortable, and it's yeah, and I do find it I'm wiped out a lot more, a lot quicker, and feel a lot more exhausted and all the rest of it.
I don't know about anyone in chat, but I'm just hearing old man sounds like he's old or getting old.
That's I had the angiogram, and got the results for that, and basically my doctor said, these results are pretty good. It's just this and this and this. It's just old age. It's just you're just getting old. It's just part of aging.
Yeah,
it sucks, but that's
well,
it
it was the same thing with me. I had a couple of scares there, and let's be honest, as men, we don't tend to take, especially as single men, right?
Yeah.
We don't tend to take exactly good care of ourselves, and there is a statistic, I'd have to remember the percentage. I honestly can't remember, but I know it's like around 50% or worse, right? That single people don't live as long as people that are in couples because they take care of each other. I can't remember the statistic.
It was something like I remember the stats. It was something like 40% or 50% or something.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it's
something like never single or always single, never married guys. The average, their life expectancy average was like 30 years old or 20 years old or some really low number, where those who have been married live significantly longer, whereas the reverse is true for women. Never married women live longer. Married women live shorter because they tend to get impacted by more birth problems and all the rest of it.
You know how you were saying before the stream, it would be impossible if I could hear the rain. I can now hear the rain. So for people in chat that was wondering what the hell that noise was, that's how hard it's raining where Algared is right now. That's the tin roof going off. So
So I'm sorry about that. There's nothing I can do. It's an act of God at this point.
It's not always coming through. It sometimes it didn't then, and then it did, and then it didn't. So it's intermittent. Just in case people are unaware. Right, we've got.
You guys decide how much you spend on ships. The other thing is I'm well beyond the that average age. I'm stealing from all the young guys because I'm still going.
Yeah.
And so are you. We're both over the average age of normal single guys, so we're pushing that figure up. And those figures are always skewed because it also like for the never married guys, that also includes every male baby or every child. Or had something go wrong. So those figures are really screwed.
One Blizmo, thank you for the 7 month subscription on Twitch. That
is awesome.
Very appreciated. Actually, I probably need to look more into the Twitch stuff because they also tell you how long people have been doing it for. I do know they do that with the YouTube thing, but it's just easier to find stuff on Twitch. I really would love to see them kind of learn off each other and
I wish I could work.
It'd be a dream, wouldn't it, to have them integrate? And man, imagine if Twitch and YouTube combined. It'd be a joy.
That could be very awesome.
Yeah. All right, so we've got 5 or so questions at the moment. So we'll crack into one of these.
Questions. Yep.
Yeah.
And,
so the Packet Narc says, question: how much wood could a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? I repetitively say that, so you're not going to stump me with that one. But how much wood would a woodchuck chuck if a woodchuck could chuck wood? Oh, you almost
there you
got
go.
me. He almost got me. He almost got me. But yeah, no, that is the one that I've rehearsed. So I know that one pretty well.
My question is that a European woodchuck or an African woodchuck?
But what woodchuck would a woodchuck would if a woodchuck could chuck wood? How about you try it then, Algared? Smarty pants.
I'm not going to try it. I know I'm going to botch it.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I read that question.
My question was back. Are we talking an African woodchuck or a European woodchuck or?
Yeah. So that's actually one of the ones that I used to warm up with when I did my comedy routines, believe it or not. And it just allowed, because you often stumble, and I still stumble as a part of, especially as a part of my bipolar stuff. And I say a fuck ton, like a literal fuck ton. And that's because I am actually literally thinking as we drive, and you'll notice. I don't know if you'll notice if you see me on an episode like this where I'm kind of driving and thinking about all the stuff I've got to do. I will say a lot more than if I'm say on the captain's table or something. I even did it just then. Like I do it so unconsciously, it's not fun.
Oh look, I don't know what it's like elsewhere, but certainly in Australia, the is literally a verbal punctuation. it's mind working, and it's a verbal pause. It's literally a full stop or a comma. Unfortunately, we also use cuss words as verbal intensifiers and full stops
And greetings.
yeah.
Yeah.
You know, we use
Yeah.
them for everything. But yeah,
Yeah.
and a lot of people, I know I often do, but yeah, along with that as well. So it's that whole aspect of conversations, and the more you do public speaking, hopefully, the better you get at not doing that.
Neurospicy is the term I use. What is that term? What do you mean by neurospicy? If you could explain to me, Brooke. I'm just interested to know what you mean by that. Apparently you've just come from vacation, Algared. You're all tanned and ready to go. You want to tell us where you've been? No.
Nowhere. It's the light. Obviously, my lighting is good today. I think it's the whole thing you've said. It's the new rig is just just so much better.
So the other thing I've noticed with Algared since he got the new computer up and running is he also doesn't, like, his net doesn't seem to drop out as much. I think some of his problem wasn't just the internet, it was also his computer had aged. He did, like, last week, I don't know if you guys watched, there was one time, and it was around about 7 a.m, so at about 43 minutes from now, he pixelated out and then came back. But he didn't disconnect, which is a plus. So yeah, have to wait and see.
Well, I have noticed sometimes, you know, I'll be talking on the phone and the phone does exactly the same thing as the net does. You know, the download is fine, but the upload is crap. So yeah, the rain does sound pretty hard. It's actually sounds like it's actually softening up a little. So
yeah. Right, Brick Will says, is this your first time flying there and visiting? Are you planning just to do CitizenCon? So I assume he's talking to both of us and talking about the UK. So yes, it is my first time there, and it'll probably be my only time there. And I was going to go around a bunch of places, but I just had, again, due to cost, I can't afford to. But I've decided to try and stay as long as I possibly can, and John has been gracious enough to put me up for essentially close to 3 weeks. So because he's got room to do so and it doesn't cost him anything, and he said if I he'll take me around a bunch of places and stuff like that. So the only real place I really kind of want to go is like up to Scotland. That's the only place I really wanted to go. I was originally planning to go to Germany on the way there and go to a board game convention called Essen Spiel. I'm not doing that anymore. And I also did have a look at Dublin at one point because I've been told by a lot of the other content creators, so like Expat and Pissball Pete and a few other people I know over there, that Ireland is a really good place to go visit. But I've just cut all that back because I just don't have the funds. So yeah, but hey, I'm grateful enough to be going. Period. So yeah, don't look a gift horse in the mouth. Algared, what about yourself?
Yeah, I'm in exactly the same boat. You know, I might be a POM. I still have my British passport, but you know, we came out to Australia when I was 2. I've never been back, and this is the first time going back to England. I have been to the States a couple of times, but I haven't been to CitizenCon before. CitizenCon has always been that thing that was just too expensive, and it always also falls during school term. So getting time off.
Yeah, it was a lot more
difficult. It was always difficult.
Can we talk about the citizenship stuff real briefly? Or is that, or you don't want to talk about that? It's up to you.
You can talk citizenship.
So, because one of the things I said to Algared, I said, you've been here almost all your life. Why don't you just get citizenship? It would remove all these problems. Because when Algared has to go, I think you've got to apply, like you're saying, 2 months in advance before you can even go. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's just getting the paperwork and stuff. It can take time.
Yeah, so but it's not like me. I can just book a flight and essentially go. You have to.
I just had to make sure I had my visa, my visa return, my return visa organised because I'm a permanent resident.
Which is ironic because I can go to the UK and I don't need a visa as an Australian citizen. It's really strange.
But I don't know. I think you need to do some form of ESTA, but getting those is nothing.
All right, maybe you and I need to look into that then, because I was told I don't have to do a goddamn thing. And that was by my mum, and she travelled there only recently. So,
but I you know, even if there is it'd be, I don't have to worry about that when I go to England. I'm really peeved off that England did Brexit, because one of the reasons I didn't worry in the past, because England's part of the EU. If you had an English passport, you had an EU passport, you could go anywhere. So with Brexit now, it's kind of, oh bugger, you know. I've only got a British passport, not a French, not everywhere else. So, so that's a frustration. But yeah, the main reason is just convenience. It's just a hassle to go through. Getting an Australian passport, that was the thing that was always difficult. So you were, it's easy. No, that can take up to a year.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that I'm kind of worried about, more than the cost and all that stuff, is the time. It is a 29-hour flight time from my airport to I arrive in, and I'm actually flying into Birmingham. And I told that to someone that's a British guy that's down at my board game club, and he said, "Oh, I'm sorry about that." And I went, "What?" But apparently Birmingham is not the classiest place. But yeah, so I'm flying, and the reason I'm doing that is because it's closer to John. He's only 40 minutes away. Where if I went to London, he was like almost 4 hours away. When I looked at the trains and that, it actually worked out about the same price just to book the flights if I packaged them all in. So I just made it easier for John. But 29 hours, and I think I've got like basically 2 hours between the flights. So I arrive in Sydney, 2 hours, get on a plane, all the way over to Dubai. And then I got 2 hours in Dubai. I was going to ask Expat if she wants to come to the airport and have lunch with me, but it might not be convenient. And I'll see her at CitizenCon anyway.
Yeah, I was chatting with Expat about the same thing. I said,
yeah.
Could you say, I'll show you guys around, and and I thought,
2 hours, you're not going to have much time.
And she's only there for the literally the CitizenCon week, basically the same time we're booked in. But I said, I had an option to have a stopover at Dubai, and she thought, maybe I could, be at the airport at the same time, But that would depend on when I go and when I don't go. I'm still tossing up the events I want to do. So there are a whole series of events as a historian lover and and person who's always loved history. I wanted to do a whole pile of things. Go to Hadrian's Wall, go up to Scotland, go across to Ireland, go across to France, check out all the war sites and everything. And I'm at the point I've actually got to cut things out. I just can't afford to do everything I want.
Yeah.
And so
same thing from mine, but yeah.
It really is putting the I suppose the financial thumbscrews on. So no, you don't want to take Rings of Power. Rings of Power is a piece of
Rings of Power.
It's absolutely an abomination against Tolkien and should never have been created.
Yeah. I think that's I think that's a problem with a lot of the modern TV shows. They take great people's work, and instead of making their own, they think they can do better than these classic literature. But anyway, hang on real quick. Please, if you guys have got more questions, the reason why we're talking about random stuff is we don't have enough questions to keep this going. If we flew through the questions, we would already be ending the stream. So for your benefit, if you want us to keep going, get some questions in, please, because we've only got like 4 questions left. And the way this stream works is it lives and dies on questions. So if you don't, in a minute, we're going to start answering questions, and if they run out, stream's over. Right, Algared, you were saying?
And the random stuff wasn't just random stuff. It was actually responding to
YouTube. It was, but we are definitely padding it out.
Definitely padding it out. But yeah, like I even think Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings is an abomination against Tolkien. One of the best ones out there. But when you look at the way Helm's Deep is done in Tolkien, in Peter Jackson, he has the elves turn up to Helm's Deep.
Yeah, that's one. And I've never really read the books, but I've also told Tom Bombadil is...
Yeah, Tom Bombadil is left out.
Yeah. But apparently a lot of people have said he really doesn't add to the story. He's a character that doesn't really move the story forward. He's almost like this anominate being that's just there but doesn't really do anything.
he is an almost a godlike figure, a divine. He's not quite the same as Gandalf and the other Astari, the other angelic beings, I suppose, which is the closest way to describe them, that were sent to help humanity and the free peoples. He's someone who's been there from the beginning, but not. So his whole process of being is there. He's someone who is not impacted by or he's unaffected by the ring or the power of a ring. So he's before the ring and yet unaffected by it. So he's probably the only person in the whole of the books who is totally unaffected by the ring. He could have taken the ring and held it and wouldn't have done anything just because of that. But when you look at Helm's Deep, the problem with Helm's Deep is, in the books, Helm's Deep is almost the rise of humanity. It's a human standing on their own feet, defeating the forces of evil.
Yeah. So
whereas Jackson has the elves turn up to honour the last alliance of elves and men. But in the books, the elves don't do that. They're fighting the hordes from the north. You know, they're dealing with forces from Moria and the Grey Mountains rather than dealing with
I don't exactly know why he did that, but yeah. All right, we got a few more.
Oh, I think I know why he did. He was trying to know that alliance, but
we got a few more questions now, so let's take one of those. So the Packet Narc says, awesome. Question, what's Manchester weather like in October? I'm going to be honest with you, I got no bloody idea, but I'm assuming if it's the opposite of here, because it's pretty much on the opposite side of the planet, it's kind of like, it'll be spring for us. It'll be going into autumn, so it'll be starting to get colder.
That said, around October, it is 10 to 11 degrees during the day.
Yeah,
so Chad actually answered that question.
Okay, so I should bring my leather jacket then.
So yes, you want to have your winter clothing.
Yeah. Well, I was originally gonna. Well, you've seen me in my leather jacket. I was going to bring that for the gala, but now there's no gala. I probably don't need to. I might just. I got a new hoodie. I don't know if you know. Well, you noticed, but so maybe I'll just bring my hoodie. I don't think that'll be enough. But yeah.
Well, if you don't bring enough, you'll end up spending money on clothes. So.
No, well, that was the other advantage because I booked everything together. I was able to get 30 kilograms of luggage all the way from home, all the way to Birmingham and back. And that the other advantage is I could just put it in at Launceston Airport and I don't have to touch it. It gets transported the whole way. So then all I do is just take a carry-on with me that is essentially... I'll probably put the camera in there just to keep it safe because you know what luggage is like. And I'll just have like my phone, a power bank, and that's probably it. In like a little pouch, and that's what I'll take with me.
My advice to you, having been caught out by airfare before, make sure you got to change your clothes. I have been on a flight that got turned back. All the luggage remained on the flight and got transferred a bit later.
Man,
everyone was put up in the hotels for a night, and yeah, it was pretty.
I will be fine. I'm pretty sure I can wear the same. Well, that's true.
No, trust me.
Maybe underpants. No, I can wear the same clothes for 2 days. I can pull that off. I'm fine. I'll be fine. Because I wouldn't be wearing what you're wearing on an airplane. I'd be wearing comfiness. That's why I don't do the fanciness, because I do the comfiness. So,
you assume you know what I wear on a flight.
Oh, I've seen you dress up like Superman in the spandex.
No. You are so full of it. You are so full of it.
Actually, the last time I saw you, you had a.
I got to stop you because Ortlet on YouTube has given us a super chat. So thank you, Ortlet, for your first super chat. I think most appreciated, never required, but always appreciated.
So you had like a long woolly trench coat. What I remember, it was like a tan trench coat.
No, it wasn't tan. It was grey.
It was grey, was it? Okay. Yeah, well, that's what I remember. I just remember it wasn't like a trench coat. It was like a woolly one, like
a woolen.
I remember it being tan, like at the color of a trench coat, but it was woolen. That's what I remember. But yeah.
But it was grey.
Yeah, was it? That's great.
Because I've only got the one, so I know.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I've remembered the color wrong then.
Anyway. But yes, I had seen that in the shop, and it reminded me of one my dad used to have, and I went, "Yep, I'm getting that." And it is.
Well, what I found, Algared, was when I went out in my hoodie, I'd get lots of people asking me for help and stuff. And what I found when I wear the leather jacket, people don't ask me for help because they think I'm a bad person.
You are that
So,
person.
so I just
Well-
put the leather jacket on, put my leather gloves on, and I look like a murderer or something. And so people don't talk to me, and I can
So
just,
then obviously, when I'm dressed up,
yeah,
you're obviously the protection detail. Okay, cool.
yeah, something like that. But yeah, people just leave me alone. Put my earbuds in, and I can just
Zone
in
out.
and out of my shopping. Yeah, I don't know what you're like, but I'm a bit of a crop duster when it comes to shopping. Like, I already know what I want, so I just go in and go bang, 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 and target what I want and get in and out. And I usually spend more time in the checkout aisle than I do actually walking around the supermarket getting my stuff. Like, yeah,
Depends on what it is I'm getting. Like sometimes I know what I want, but
yeah,
I can't see what I want, so I'm actually looking for the parts,
yeah.
or the bits that I'm the actual after to get what I'm after, or looking at the different colours.
So-
I'm a colour fiend. I'll go through that process. So
Mm,
all of that type of stuff.
yeah.
But yeah, it is that type of aspect.
Right.
I hate shopping.
Brooke Wheels says, do you get any chance to do any server meshing testing or not at all? No, I didn't get any yesterday because essentially we did that the ISC video, and then I went back to bed, and then when I got up it was over, and it'll probably be the same thing again today because we'll do this stream and then it'll probably be over. And again, they're doing more American timing, so to speak. I don't think many Australians will get a chance to do it at 5 o'clock in the morning, or what is it now, 6:30 in the morning. So yeah, and being Saturday, most people are going to be sleeping in.
I would have loved to have, but I was working, so I did the ISC stream yesterday, and then literally ran off to work. So I think I popped in for the premiere for a little bit, and you gave me going, "What are you doing?" I said, "I'm walking. I'm walking to work."
Yeah, because he told me he was leaving early to work. I was like, "Oh, you're gonna be late." The other thing is, I do think it's very clever what they're doing with Pyro and kind of using it like a carrot, like a tantalizing thing to get enough people in to do those tests. I think it's kind of clever.
Yeah.
So yeah,
I think it's the way to get it going, and certainly if you're after server meshing, and the two systems are where you're really going to see server meshing kick in. That's probably the best way to test it. So yeah. Steck says, I'm working and watching you guys. It's always nice to see people who are able to take that time off or just listen to it like a radio talk show.
yeah, we hear that.
I think it's where it is.
Yeah, we hear that a lot, don't we, Algared?
So yeah, we do.
Right, Hunter May says Capship gameplay is going to be start soon, I think. How do you think it will impact the game and missions? I got to see a fully crewed Idris in battle. It was epic. Yeah, I think you're right. I think the Polaris is the other part of that, because it's going to be kind of a bit shitty if it's just Idrises versus Idrises. And I think that's another reason. Well, you look at it, you've got a ship that can essentially punch up. It's almost like the cat and mouse. I think that would be a good analogy, wouldn't you, Algared?
When you look at the Idris,
you were muted there for a second or something. It was weird.
Okay. When you look at the Idris, because we've had the Idris fights in Xenothreat, they don't seem to be that threatening anymore.
They're a bit bugged. They're a bit bugged too at the moment. A lot of people have been just going and taking them over. I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of the streamers have just been flying around in Idrises the last week or so, because it is that it's quite easy to get on them because they're that bugged. And you end up having NPC turret gunners that'll just shoot whatever tries to shoot you, so they're still very strong. So it's almost like having a fully crewed Idris, but you don't need a full crew because they're all AI controlled. And funnily enough, doesn't that kind of show you that you don't need a full crew to run an Idris? Because if you put NPCs in the turrets, get where I'm going with it, NPCs will...
It really flies in the face of all those arguments. Oh, big ships, you can't run them. You won't be able to run them and earn down, and the whole earn down thing is wrong. I get where people are coming from with that, but there's also that element where you don't need to worry about
Yeah.
crewing your ships, and
Well,
you will be able to do them in different ways.
it's like you and I always say though. A lot of the people when we end up talking to them, they're missing pieces of information, and your brain can only answer questions with the information it knows. And if you're missing one piece of information, your outcome is wrong because your brain will tell you correct. Hey, given all the information I have, this is correct. But
Yeah.
you don't ask yourself that. Do I have all the information? You just make assumptions. That's how the human brain works.
Your
Yeah.
brain fills in the gaps with what it thinks is reasonable.
Yep.
And that's always a worry as well. Like, we may have a lot more information, and that can often lead us to going down the garden path.
True. Goes both ways. Yeah, absolutely. I wouldn't argue that.
It's a whole argument with the extra game packs on your account.
Mm.
So how an NPC is going to work. Now, CIG have said in the past that they will be, you'll be able to hire NPCs or use them as customizable NPCs, that they'll be loyal, all of those types of things. But we don't know how they're going to work them. We don't know, they've never actually said exactly how it's going to work and how it's going to function. We know NPCs are going to be a thing. We know that they talked about agent smithing at one time. That was the community's name for players being able to take over an NPC, and that was the way they were originally talking about how if you're on Stanton and I'm in Pyro, we could actually team up and help each other on our ships. We know they've talked about that. And it's kind of in that realm of where they went with Death of the Spaceman. That you would have so many lives and then die and then have to create your character again. For ages, people are saying, oh, it's not going to happen. Well, we see it is happening. We see that with the regen stuff. And the question is, what form is it going to take? Is it, and that's where we don't know. We know what they've said. We know how they're going. We know a lot of things they say, they do. We just don't know how it's going to work out.
Yeah.
I did see a law report. Apparently, in the law, there are problems with a regen tech.
Interesting.
So there are problems with regen tech. Don't know what they are yet, but there are problems with regen. So,
right. Hunter May also asks. He says, "Do you think Squadron 42 is coming out at CitizenCon, or do you think they will just give a date? I think it's perfect time to say it's done and find done and out now and go play."
Okay. So my thought has been for ages that CitizenCon was going to be the one where they announce or release Squadron.
Yep.
I think the idea of a gala, which I know was Sandy's kind of idea, was something she had started to plan and think about and work towards even before CitizenCon was over.
Yep.
So from early last year.
Yep.
Why they haven't gone ahead with it, the reasons are multiple. I could think of several. I could think of some that are not good and others that are.
That's why we did that. We did an episode on essentially what's happened to the gala, because it raises a lot more questions that it's not happening than did they? So we went in just to briefly go into it. Did they cancel it because they're not doing the release? Did it take up too much time for not enough people, not enough payoff? So they decided just to include all those celebrations into the regular Citizen Cons. It can go both ways. There are positives for it and negatives, right? But all we do know is that there is a legal ramification if they do not get this game out by the end of Q1. So it's coming. It's just whether is it coming at Citizen Con or is it coming by March, essentially.
Yeah. And my view, just based on what I'd heard, what I knew from Sandy telling me before COVID that the family was going to go to UK to finish off Squadron.
Yeah.
And that means that COVID literally put Squadron behind 2 years, in my opinion.
Yeah. And we know. Oh, sorry. I was going to say we also talked about like all these different potentials and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so I think you could see Squadron at CitizenCon, but maybe only for people that have already backed it, and they kind of test it a little bit, and then it's actually kind of going to be really. We also talked about console as well, so like you could get a PC release at CitizenCon and a console release before the end of Q1, which makes sense to me as well. There's so many variables there that it's kind of hard to quantify. But I think if you have a window, I don't know about you, Algared, but having a 5-month window is enough for me to say, yeah, I can live with a release of a 5-month window. When you've waited like over a decade, like you and I have, 5 months is nothing.
Yep. Like I said, I fully expect, and I've said it numerous times, I fully expected Squadron 42 to be released at CitizenCon or announced at the gala release at CitizenCon, and if it wasn't, then it was going to be the announcement of the release date.
Yeah.
And I fully expect it's either going to be released at CitizenCon or we'll get the date and the release time for Q1.
Yeah. I'm going to be honest though, if I get there and it's just a date, I'm going to be a little bit disappointed that I flew all the way for a date. But yeah, I don't know. You and I always wanted to go to the big one, didn't we? We talked about it for years and years and years and years, and that's the whole reason we're going. Is because, well, I think we're putting our chits in, aren't we, Algared, so to speak?
Yeah, like for me to go to CitizenCon means taking long service leave. I cannot, just because of where CitizenCon always falls. I cannot go during school term. It's just a non. It's just not on the table. Unless I take leave, I cannot go. It's not like a teacher can just go, oh yeah, I'm taking my holidays now. You've got to think of your students and the programs and who's replacing you and all the rest of it. I cannot go to CitizenCon without taking long service leave. That meant I could only go to 1 or 2 CitizenCons.
Yeah. Well, you and I both haven't been one since it was in Australia, have we? So yeah. Just real quick, Volta was asking, he didn't put it in as a question, but he said, did you talk about console release? Yes. So they have never said Squadron 42 isn't coming to console. They've only ever said Star Citizen's not coming to console. And if you think about it, it doesn't matter to me or you if someone else is playing a single player game and what they're playing it on. If they're playing on a PC or a console, it does not affect me and you. But playing on a multiplayer, then it starts to affect people. And that's why I think we'll see and if you think about it, it's an untapped funding model. Because if you can essentially take console gamers and pull them into Squadron 42, they can just keep playing that, but it also funds CIG. But not only that, it might pull them into getting a PC and joining the multiplayer, so to speak, or joining Star Citizen. So that's why I'm pretty sure. And we've seen consoles at CIG in tours since, what, 2013, Algared? I think they were.
I can remember them 2014, them showing, they were doing the tech team, the guys behind the scene who kept everything running. And they had what is it, the Sony console,
PlayStation and Xbox,
and they had all the developers tools for PlayStation and Xbox and all the other stuff.
They also every demo up until the jump point one that they showed off, when they first went through the jump point, up until that point they'd all been done with a controller.
Yeah,
which tells you everything you need to know.
Chris likes the. I was told Chris they use controller because Chris likes the controller. Chris always talked about it being controller agnostic.
Yeah, and controllers also give a more cinematic, smoother feel when you pan around, where with a mouse it can be a little bit too jaggedy because of the human nature of things. But yeah.
So in terms of do I think it's going to go console? Yeah, well, it makes sense. Like there's never been a statement that said they wouldn't go console.
And every Chris Roberts game has eventually been on console too.
And they used to say, the whole thing with Squadron 42 is that these, the story of my death has been overrated, and it was talking about PC gaming. Squadron 42 is primarily a PC game. Every other often big game we've had has been primarily a console game ported to PC. This is the complete opposite. This is PC game, which I expect they will port across to consoles rather than the other way around. And I've got no problem with that. I think the more people who play the game, awesome. The more they sell, great.
It'll just make a better Star Citizen in the end of the day.
Yeah, it'll be a better Star Citizen, and that will mean that will either help fund the expansion packs to Squadron 42, or it's going to help fund the BU. So both ways, it's a win-win as far as I'm concerned. It's just a matter of how well they can do that, but I don't think it's going to impact the computer PC version as opposed to, just to get it done. And that's the difference. It's
Right.
PC first, console second.
Yas says, question, is Star Citizen a pay-to-win game, or can we also win with in-game currency? I think the in-game currency was more to try and chop off gold farmers at the knees, personally. And as for pay-to-win, I've never seen it pay-to-win because of the rep grind or the reputation grind, because you still need to kind of do that. I think the way I've always kind of worded it is kind of like pay to advance.
Yeah.
Because you've still got to do a lot of stuff. So it's not completely pay to win. It's not this black and white. It is this kind of gray area. And also, like, again, you've also got to have people to put on the ships, or you've got to have enough money to fund the ships, or you start to have things that limit what you can do. So it's not this instant I win button. Like, it's
100%.
You can have a javelin and fill it full of NPCs, right? But there's a cost to do that, right? So you are going to have to keep doing missions in such a way. It's possible, but, like, let's be honest, I don't think a lot of people are going to have a full enjoyment, because you're going to be running a javelin full of NPCs would be more like a micromanagement game of controlling NPCs. I think that's what's going to turn most people off. It's not going to be can you do it or can't you do it. It's going to be the micromanagement of all the NPCs.
Yeah. I can still remember Chris saying, and it would be easily 2014, 2015, Chris talking about the funding model of a game and whether it was pay to win or otherwise. And his view was, I want this game to be for everyone. So I want you to be able to buy and use and buy, get your currency outside a game and buy stuff outside a game for those people who work. For people like me who are middle-aged, who have families, I'm talking to Chris, middle-aged families who work and do other stuff, and you can only play, 4 or 5 hours a week. As opposed to, say, this uni student or a kid who can play 24/7. He wants it to be available to both people. And he wants both to be able to advance at a similar pace. So he wants
in line with that, Algared, someone in chat, I can't remember who said it. I think it was Bowler said it. A friend to win. Yep. That's a really good term.
Yeah, and I think that's Chris's idea, but he also doesn't want to hold people back. So he wants, if I can only play 5 hours a week, he wants me to be able to be at the same level you are if you can play 24 hours a week.
Yeah.
And that means you've got to have some balance of that. And that means, okay, I'm cash rich but time poor.
Yep.
You're cash poor but time rich. How's that going to balance? And that's what he's always aimed for and wanted to do. And if you think that's pay to win, then tough. Suck it up.
Yeah. It's pretty common in other MMOs anyway. Except that, like, the gold always became a problem. Right, because you were never able just to be able to buy enough to do what you did. It was one of the things I hated about WoW. It became a full-time job. If you wanted to get enough gold for that, you had to do like 20. You had to do your maximum 20 dailies every day of the week, just to fund yourself enough so you had enough gold to buy all your pots and stuff that you need for the raid. And it was so annoying. It was too much work. You couldn't just jump on an hour a day. It was literally, it was a full grind.
The reverse side is Lotro, where if you're that's Lord of the Rings Online.
Yeah.
If you're a casual player, you can't, unless you're doing the full-on raids, you can't get the top end gear. You have to be doing, playing 24/7 to get the top end gear. And then they keep bringing out new stuff, and it means your top end gear that you've just managed to earn is now useless, and so it becomes here we go again, and it just kills. Yeah. And I hope that's not what Chris wants. I hope what he's wanting is, as new stuff comes out, you can get it easily. I have to admit, part of my concern about the Mark II Hornet is that idea that stuff that has been purchased but not fully used yet has been degraded, discontinued, and to get use out of it, you've really got to upgrade, and that means that's sucky.
Yeah. Yeah, it's
And I think that's just part of the problem we've got with the game in development, but also being made so we can play it.
but also money raising as well.
Yeah,
Like that
but
was
also
that shouldn't have been a money raising thing. It should have been a free upgrade.
It should have been a money
It really
raiser.
should have been.
It should have been a money raiser, being put on sale and pushed to people who don't have it. But for people who did have
Because
it,
quite honestly, why couldn't it have just been in a Mark 1 upgrade? Why did they have to make they law base made it the Mark 2? They didn't have to do that.
Nope.
It's still in development. They could have just gone, yeah, here's an upgrade to the Mark 1. Bang, done. No, they used it as a money raising effort.
Yep. But they could have done it. They could have. Hey, this is a new Mark 1. This is a new Hornet model. It's the new. It's a new Gold Pass. Get it while it's hot and put it on sale for people who didn't have one, and they'd have sold a buck ton. But made an upgrade for anyone who did have one, and that. So they could have done both ways. I can see it. I can still see it being a money raiser and being pushed that way. But the making it a Mark 2 and needing to upgrade your old Mark 1s because we'll still polish them and make them good, but can't buy them anymore, and they're not going to be as good or fly as well. Yeah, that kind of sucky, especially when ships like the Ghost and the Tracker haven't had their gameplay.
Yeah.
It's like, that left a really sour taste in my mouth, and I know for guys like you, that was the same. I imagine from what we've talked about, that's the same taste. The same taste I had was exactly the same you had when they did the Cartwell, and they changed that format of that. And so
it's going to happen though because of the nature of development. But I don't think that's quite the same because that was just them finding a ship that didn't work that way. But in this case, they took something that had never been released and then provided an upgrade for it. And I've got to sit there and question like how eventually much is the Mark 1 going to drop behind? Like 10 years from now, do you honestly think that that's even going to be relevant anymore?
No. Well, most of the ships we've got aren't going to be relevant anymore. But I fully get it. I could see most of the snub fighters are going to be irrelevant unless they're intrinsically part of bigger ships that are used all the time. Yeah. So it is a frustration. It is an annoyance in a sense, but.
All right. Next question. When you're ready, I'll let you read that one because I've got to answer it.
Okay, so Legion Vitrix says, for Execute, why do you answer me on a YouTube video saying being Canadian explains why? Just curious to know what you meant.
I didn't say that. I said, you're from Montreal. Oh, that explains a lot then. I didn't say anything about being Canadian. I got no problems with Canadians at all.
Just go to Montreal.
And Montreal is where they're making the game. So we all know what that means. That's all that meant, because they've got people from Turbulent there. That's what that meant. Yeah.
I just think in the long run, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a sitcon in Montreal.
Yeah, it was already hinted at already.
I fully expect to see that.
Next year's is where was there or Texas were two of the ones that you and I heard different things about that actually. And I think Montreal's probably going to win out because it's been at Texas a few times already. So
and I think and given that Montreal seems to be really kicking in and being if I imagine if they get server meshing kicked in, the next one they'd be doing would be this World Systems, and we know Montreal's where they're doing all the worlds, and it would make sense to have a CitizenCon at Montreal if they're plugging the worlds and the systems. Now, I've got no evidence for that, for saying that, but that to me just makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so Just a Lemming says, we're not answering that question. Why would we want to answer a question from that guy? He's such a...
Just a Lemming, our mod asks, question, when do you think the new Saber Raven analog is going to come? Raven analog? What?
The new Raven-esque Saber, the new version. We got the Raven Firebird, and then we've got the new Raven, or the new Saber coming.
Does he mean the one that they've hinted that's the QED? Is that what he's talking about? I'm really confused by that question. Have I missed something about the Raven? I thought already it had a rework.
Well, the Raven's had a rework, but he's talking about we have the Raven Firebird because people want a Raven. And then they've said there's another saber coming.
Yeah, the QED one. Yeah.
And I think that's what he's referring to. But Lemming, we're going to say, as we usually say to people, give us more context, please.
Yeah, I don't get the context of your question. Sorry, Lemming. Just hit me up after the show and I'll answer it. But yeah, I don't know what you mean by that. Sorry, you've lost me. All right, Joe says, if you could have any celebrity, not their character, join you on the Inforunners and play Star Citizen with you, who would it be and why? Algared?
If I could have any celebrity, not their character, join me, I think it'd either be Mark Hamill or Gary Oldman.
Okay, and why? You like
well,
old people?
Sorry?
You like old men? That's fine.
Yeah. No, Mark Hamill, because he is Luke Skywalker. He is Old Man Cotton. He is the character from Wing Commander.
Yep.
Blair. So he's all of those games and all of those movies that I've grown up with.
Yep.
But he's also, he's the Joker. It's all of those. Gary Oldman, because he's just a penultimate actor, and
yep.
Is he a gamer? I don't know, but man, he would add so much character if you're going into a battle and he gives a speech. Man, he'd stop the opposition just by his speech.
I am noticing we're kind of answering this from the celebrities that are only in Squadron, though, so we should probably do that and then probably think of any other celebrity. But I'm not a big celebrity person. It's a very American thing, I think, celebrityism. But for me, it'd have to be Henry Cavill. Being that he's in Squadron, but he's also like a... Gamer. Yeah, he's an actual gamer. I feel like I'd actually sit down and play things with him and not even miss a beat type of thing. So yeah, I'd love to sit down with Henry and chew the fat. And I'm a big Superman fan as well. So
yeah, and he, my understanding is he actually approached CIG and said, "Put me in. I want to be in.
Yeah,
give me a part. I'll do anything." Because he's a gamer, and you get that idea of him how much of a gamer he is when he was doing The Witcher, and he really took on that part and really got annoyed when they diverted from the game lore and all the other stuff, as I understand it. So
I tell you right now, if they ever want to do any publishing for the game, they just pay him to play the game for a couple of hours, and they would. That's all they have to do. Just stream it for a couple of hours, and everyone would know about it. So
who knows? He probably does stream it and just keeps his identity.
Well, he could just stream. They could put him in on the actual Star Citizen channel, and just stream him playing the game, or a section of the game that he appears in, or something like that.
And you would get female gamers and new female players flock to the game like you would not believe.
But the same thing like you said with Gary Oldman and Mark Hamill. If they got them on there as well and playing it, people would sit there and watch them and ask them questions and stuff. I reckon that'd be really popular. So yeah.
I could, if I think of non-movie star celebrities, I could even say, hey, I'd love to sit down and play the game with Chris. And I know that he may not be the best gamer in terms of his game, but
again, if he sat there and streamed it, people would watch. I can tell you that right now.
I can remember when he did the first flight out of the hangar. This is shit.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Yeah. I had it as a notification for a while. Also, if you guys have been here long enough, you know what I mean by the whole helmet thing. The helmet. Because people just love this animation that this guy had done for the spinning of the helmet, and they played it a few times because people liked it a lot. And it's just, I just remember the whole community thing around that, and it's just all continued the whole way.
Yep. It was the animation they had in for the hangar module, and when you went to the hangar, you had your helmet there, and you'd pick up your helmet, and the guy would pick it up and he'd toss it in his hands and then put it on his head. It was just,
but it was
a cool animation.
It was just like anything that kind of looks cool is carried through, and I've seen that time and time again at several Citizen Cons. Like they'll put something cool on the screen, everyone will go, "Oh yeah, awesome!" And I remember one guy from CIG going, "I don't get it." Like he literally said that, like, "I don't get it. Why do they like that?" Like, because it was just cool. That's the only reason they liked it, because it was cool.
Yeah. It's like the the Redeemer's engines. I hate the Redeemer's engines, but I tell you, when I first saw them on the big screen,
At PAX, yeah.
it was, and I saw it at PAX on the big screen as they were doing a run through, and I just thought, man, people are going to lose their crap over this.
And they did. When it played, there was a massive roar. You can still hear it on the footage today. Yeah, you're not wrong.
You know, and you see that whenever they do something like that, something cool comes up, a ship that we've been waiting for flies on the screen, and you know it's in game, and the crowd goes wild. When they did the first Connie versus Hornet combat, you know, the three Hornets versus the Connie, that one, people went wild. When they did the Idrises, two Idrises having a fight, everyone went wild. You know, the Idris landing and the vehicles just driving in and out of the Idris. Just really dumb stuff, but it's stuff we've been waiting for, and it just feeds us.
Yeah,
it fires, and
So yeah, anyone know Henry Cavill? Put in a good word for me. I'll happily sit down with Henry and chew the fat. I would love to interview Henry if he ever turned up to CitizenCon. That'd be really cool if he was there, and then get us to take him on a private tour of Warhammer World afterwards. What do you reckon, Algared? Do you reckon he'd do that if we asked?
Quite happily do that. You know,
and then don't bring Paul, so he gets really jealous. No, we'd bring Paul. We'd definitely bring Paul.
Yeah, Henry, we've got to bring another guy along with us.
He's such a dag, but you know, if we don't bring him, he's gonna complain. What about you?
We're up to Michael Friedrich.
What about the Death Factor one? What are the possibilities we're going to get a kit bash ship for Pyro, like the guns they just showed in ISC? And do you think we'll be able to earn one for our hangars as they are NPC only? No, I think of the kit bash ones in Squadron. I don't know if you...
Yeah. I certainly think the kit bash ones in Squadron. I don't know where we'll be able to get them. I think that's hinted we won't be able to get them.
Yeah.
Will there be any of those in Pyro or Levski? I would expect those types of things to be there. Aurelius Indomitus says maybe Henry is lurking here. Man, Henry, if you're lurking here, we'd love you to say hi.
Yeah, jump on Discord, bro. Let's go.
And I think we'd go.
I don't get that way because I did the comedy stuff, so I've been around celebrities. It doesn't affect me like that.
I do that in terms of just the amazement of you know, someone who, and it's weird because like at the end of the day, you know, Henry and Mark and John Rhys Davies and Gary Oldman, they're just ordinary gamers or people or actors, just like. We're just ordinary people, but it would be nice to think that our conversation and our discussion was something that they would find interesting or useful or laughable. So yeah.
Getting back to the question at hand, though, I've already got questions about how they're going to do these pyro weapons as well, because are they going to have things that make them look individually unique from the last version of them, so to speak? Like if I have gun 1 and Algared has gun 1, does his gun 1 look slightly different from my gun 1 because they're meant to be kit bashed? And that is a lot easier to pull off on a gun level, but as soon as you go to a ship, it becomes a lot harder to do. Now, Algared and I have talked about how they can do this in the future, but from a gameplay perspective, what it adds is not worth the development cost, at least until a lot further down the line. So it's not something like, well, they could implement it whenever they want, but you and I did talk about this, didn't we, Algared, in terms of ships and vehicles? On a weapon level, I can see it being pulled off. And also, I think ships tend to have to be kind of done at shipyards, where we kind of went through this a little bit yesterday. You can see how it works already, doing it through a manufacturing table, because they're more readily available. So more readily available something is, the more you can jerry-rig it yourself. Where if you've can only do ships, then you need a shipyard. It limits how you can do it. They can still do it though. It's just diminishing returns from a production level, as I said.
The other thing that comes into that, in terms of them being able to do that, is the parts of the ships being compatible. And so I can remember when they were breaking up the Connie for its damaged states, and they broke it into, you know, the cockpit, the neck, the body, and the tail. and that meant they could swap and change. They could swap and change for the different cockpits on the Connies and just attach them to different parts. They could attach the neck of a Connies and attach them to, you know, a neck of a Andromeda to a neck of a Phoenix, the neck of a tail of a Phoenix to the tail of a Taurus. They could do that type of stuff. But by the way, they link. It's the same if you're doing kit bash. If you're doing a kit bash of an Aurora, you need the parts you're attaching to the Aurora to be actual fit on. So you can't just necessarily grab a part from a Cutlass and put it on because they don't necessarily line up. So that's a lot of work to make sure that's the case. But you could do variants or chunks that you add or take off.
They literally could just do the ones that they did from Squadron 42 and chuck those in and just have these, you know, junkyard kit bash ones, like as I said, pyro guns. They could just have pyro ships. And quite honestly, I don't think pyro ships or pyro guns is the way to call it, because eventually what happens when it goes beyond pyro?
Yeah.
What happens when it becomes Nyx or what other pirate system out there? So it's got to be like, I wouldn't even call it kit bashed. It's like,
it's
what do you call that? Scrap ship? I'm trying to think of a general. It'd be like scrap ships or something like that. You know, reclaimed ships, recycled ships. I don't know. They'll have to come up with the term.
Yeah, it is that idea of just taking the parts that are available and using them, and that's some. I don't think Pyro would be like, given Pyro's locality to Stanton, which means it's on a very more easily to get parts in there. That is going to be less of an issue than say Nyx, which is you've got to go through Pyro to get there. So the closer you are to the trade lane means it's easier to get the parts, even if you're in a place like Pyro.
So
you're still going to need that kit bash recycled chip process type idea, and yeah, I could see them doing that.
Yeah, so Bowler in chat says, makes me wonder how repair of weapons will function. Is it separate parts or the weapon or not? So we actually did talk about this a little bit on IRC yesterday. Yes, you could probably almost like how you repair the subcomponents in a component. You can repair the parts of a gun. But then I was saying to Algared, but if I've got gun 1 and I've got gun 2 and they want to make kit bash ones, how does that work? And it's really simple. It's the gamification of it. So essentially it's like you put the 2 into a manufacturer, into a fabricator, put them into a fabricator, you press a button and bing, you know, and it just comes out and it's a whole new weapon. And it can take random qualities from both guns and just put them together. And the extra cost that is lost is the fact that you had 2 guns that were half damaged or something like that, but you lose all the extras, but you get 1 working gun.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And the other way they can do that is literally make the parts so have different trigger, different trigger components.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of how the game works at the moment. You have generalized components. So again, you could have like a trigger, a barrel, an ammo click, a stock, and things like that. So that's the other way they can do it too.
And you could mix and swap and change those around to develop a different style you want. But it doesn't change and different things might change the characteristics slightly, but overall it wouldn't really change that much. But that I like that idea because it does enable them to really leverage their in-game company, the Brugger Intergalactic. You guys know I am constantly saying how they need to have more ships or more weapons. And the only reason they've got 1 weapon is because they build all the parts for weapons and they went, hey, why don't we build a weapon? The only reason they've got a ship is they build literally all the parts of ships for other companies, and this is why don't we build a ship? So Brugger are this company that do precision parts. And every ship, every weapon, every item you've probably got in game likely has Brugger intergalactic parts incorporated into it. That's how big they are. But yeah, but that's just my personal bent. But going on to Michael Friedrich's question, what do you think about the connection between Star Citizen and Star Wars?
I think the only connection is Mark Hamill. I'm trying to think of another one.
Yeah, I can't think of any other connection between Star Citizen and Star Wars, and I think Mark Hamill is more the connection between Freelancer and Wing Commander to Star Citizen than Star Wars. It just happens that Mark Hamill was employed as the actor for Blair in Wing Commander and that series. And he liked working with Chris because Chris treated him like a normal actor, as I understand it. And
so let me put
he
it.
was keen to work with Chris again.
I'm going to put this in a different way, and I know, Algared, you're going to agree with me once you hear what I've got to say. But my biggest fear is what has happened to Star Wars and a lot of other entertainment franchises happens to Star Citizen. I just wish they leave all political stuff out of it. It needs to be neutral ground.
Yeah.
Just leave that shit at the door. We play games to escape. We don't need to be.
I don't need your political.
Don't need to be. Nobody likes to be told what to do do? I think is we'll leave it at that. So yeah.
But yeah, leave your political correctness and political ideas and rest of it out of my game.
Yeah. All right. Iceman BM says, question: I may have missed this as I just jumped on the stream. Can you share any insights into the recent server meshing? Love to know how it went. Transition between servers and play account. Well, we didn't do it ourselves, so we don't know. But a few people were saying, chat, I can't remember the gentleman's name, was saying that apparently it was a bit jumpy and stuff. See if I can find what he said here. Just give me a second. It was, I believe it was Damon that said it.
I can't recall.
Yeah, there was a guy on Twitch, and I've forgotten who it was. He was literally saying,
yeah, I stopped trying to get Twitch to work because it was telling me I needed an update, which was really annoying.
I saw, so it was Damon. He said, I saw people actually could not get in because there was a bug and the ship kept teleporting when they tried entering. So, so it sounds like it was a little buggy.
You know, that part of the game development process. You know, you do things, you think it's going to work, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it does, and sometimes you get unforeseen benefits that are awesome, and sometimes it doesn't, and it's annoying, it's frustrating, it's enjoyable, it's fantastic, but yeah, it's just part of development, and you don't always know the answer that's going to happen.
People are saying there's also a link between Star Wars and Star Citizen through the ships, but I'd also argue it's more than just Star Wars. It's Star Trek. It's across the board. We've had many, like Eve and stuff, ships from that have crept into the game. I think everyone influences everyone these days, and I don't think there's really much originality left.
Yeah, I think one of the key things where you see the link between Star Wars and certainly Star Trek is the fact that a lot of the early concept artists were guys who had developed, you know, the guy, I think we had the guy who did the Millennium Falcon, or the
he did
the guy who did the Atlas ended up doing
he did the Razor Crest in the Mandalorian after he left here. After he left here, he went to work, and he also did Ahsoka Tano's ship and stuff like that, and it looks just like the Reliant.
And they look like their copies from Star Citizen. So rather than saying it's Star Wars or Star Citizen having the Star Wars vibe, it's Star Wars having a Star Citizen vibe. But you've also got elements where you've had, you know, we had the guy who did the Star Trek Defender and other ships in Star Trek working on ships in Star Citizen, and so you have bad influence coming into their stuff just because it's the stuff they did. But one of the things I remember them saying, and this is going way back to when they used to do the interviews with the characters, you know, the design team, and what they were thinking, where they were from, and what their experience was, and how it was different from, say, designing a ship for the movies. They said the difference is here I've actually got to put everything in. I've got to put the landing gear in and space for the components. On movies, it doesn't matter. I can have a Millennium Falcon that really should be 5 times the size because I don't need to worry about all that stuff. I use movie magic.
So they've actually really got to design it as opposed to just arty-farting it, basically, yeah.
So, and I got the impression they kind of like that idea as well. So rather than just being cool, it's cool, but it works. So.
Right, Henny Peg says, question. The difference between the Apollo triage and the Apollo minivac is $25. The blurb says the minivac has more armor, etc. Is there any reason to get the triage other than saving the he says $35, but he means $25. The other thing is it also has missile hardpoints. But I think the real one is the armor. And me and Algared have talked about this a fair bit in the past. It really comes down to what scenario are you going into, and there is a reason for both. Believe it or not, not having armor is cheaper to fly around because you're not carrying the armor with you. So one of the things a lot of people don't know, just having a spare tire in your car in 2010 cost you $50 a year. Right? It's the same analogy. You're carrying that armor around, so it's a higher weight cost, so you'll have high fuel costs continuously. Right? It's the same thing with that as it is to the car. So I can see not having the armor as opposed to also having the armor. Can't you, Algared? Because obviously armor allows you to go into more of a combat area and retrieve someone, or some, you know, where there's some kind of hazard where you need the armor.
Yep. So the difference in weaponry is just to confirm,
it's missile hard points. I can't remember how many, but
the Medivac has 2 size 2 missile hard points. Yep. They've both got the same number of laser cannon. They've both got ballistic cannon. One's got listed as having laser cannon, and the Medivac is listed as having ballistic gatlings. But they're both size 2, and that's it.
$25 is kind of steep. I think it should have only been like $10, but $25 is what they picked.
Yep. I think the same. Like for extra armor, for missile hardpoint, that was a fairly steep addition. Yep.
You could also just look at it from an earn down economy. Get the higher one and then earn sideways, so to speak, back into the lesser one, so to speak. Because you'd have to assume that the armored one is higher up the rep grind tree. Yeah.
Yeah, and it depends, and we still don't really know how effective armor is going to be. Like, is it just a couple of strategically placed pieces, or is it a solid armor state? Does it have the same? Looking at what according to the Matrix Alliance, let's see what they claim the systems are. They've both got large power plant. They've both got 2 coolers. They've both got 2 medium shields. Armor's a big difference there. What difference in time to kill is that going to make to the ships?
Yeah. It also kind of allows you to take different missions if you have the armored, so you can go into more combat environments and get people out safer, where you're probably going to be just doing more rudimentary ones when you don't have the armor. So I just think it gives you a little bit more to do. Yes, it probably costs a little bit more to run, but I think on the same token, you'll also be able to do more. So that's the payoff. Do I think it will work out to be $25 in game? No, I don't.
Yeah, and that's the other aspect, isn't it? Like, in terms of, could you do the missions, those harder missions in your triage? Yeah, sure. How damaged is your ship going to be, and how much is it going to cost to maintain and repair and keep your ship going? And is it going to translate to $25 of value? Yeah, and I don't know.
A ship that's a little bit above that is obviously the Gemini and the Starfarer. So you got a Starfarer at 300 and you got a Gemini at 40. So theirs is 40, but that's not just armor, it's also engines and components and things like that. Yeah. So you get a little bit more than that. But I would say that's probably the closest comparison. So if you look at it, $40 versus 25, it's a better deal, so to speak, but you are getting less components in that upgrade.
Well, the only thing they really said with the with the Gemini G or the Gemini over the Starfarer was, it's up armored. It has less cargo capacity because of that.
Yep.
But it was up guns. So instead of size 2s at the back, it had size 3s. Instead of size 3 on the mount on the top turret.
But you also a normal Gemini in game is actually cheaper than a normal Starfarer. Yep. But you also get all the things from
torpedo. Yep.
You also get all the components from the regular Starfarer, so you can chuck it back on the Gemini. So you get like the refineries, the fuel scoop. So it gives you these things that you can swap and change out.
And so that price, because of all those, like you actually had bigger weapons and more weapons, and you had the missile pod as well as the fuel scoop. You had the armor. And
you can't take as much cargo down the planet because you've now got armor. The ship's heavier. So little things like that. So
So
play a choice, Algared.
Price difference.
Play a choice. Yeah.
I think the price difference there certainly felt better because you did have better weapons, you did have more armor, you did have the components.
Mm.
But there was always that said to be trade-off. It was slower and couldn't carry as much cargo. But when you look at in-game at the moment, there's no difference.
It really depends, again, what you're doing. Are you traveling with a fleet that's going through combat areas? Take a Starfarer G. Are you in relatively safe space and you're just collecting gas and stuff like that? Or again, are you collecting gas in a really dangerous environment? I can see the need for both, just like I can with the Medivac. It makes a lot of sense. You take the right tool for the right job to maximize your profits. Man, if you're into gas collection or you're into doing the Medivac stuff, I could literally see there a reason for people owning both. I really can.
Could there be a situation where the best gas in a gas giant is down lower, where the
True. Yeah,
the
100%.
gravitational crushing forces, you know,
Yep.
the pressure is deeper. So having an armored version gives you the ability to go that little bit lower.
Yeah, or by the same token, is it too heavy and they can't get back up because the ship is... So you have to take less fuel because you've got to compensate from the armor. And it goes both ways. Yes, you can get there in the Starfarer G, but you can't get as much as you would regularly get because it's too heavy. Yeah, it goes both ways.
You can get down, but you can't take as much because you can't stay there as long as you could in the Starfarer G. Because
exactly.
It works both ways.
Yeah,
There's positives and negatives in there.
Absolutely.
So it's balanced.
Yeah, ironically balanced. Yeah.
So Stephen Brown has a question for me. What am I most looking forward to in Star Citizen? I'm looking forward to everything. But one of the things I've always liked the idea of is Chris had said he wanted the settlements to be so that you could actually see how well they were going by just looking at them. If it's run down and graffiti and broken windows and that, you knew it was going bad. If it was clean and pristine and all the shops were open, you know it was going good. And I always liked the idea of going to a settlement that was run down. You know, and I always picked the Tavaran settlements because they're the ones that are least supported. And then building that settlement up so it was actually thriving. That would, for me, is the absolute pinnacle of fun. I know it sounds boring, but yeah, that's it. They may be doing Operation Pitchfork and killing Vandal because, you know, why not?
Right. Jose says, what is one Star Citizen ship you wish you could make disappear going forward, like the Hornet Mark 1? Oh, that's a tough one. If I could delete...
I'm going to choose off Paul, just to choose off Paul. Anything Drake. Yeah, I don't know. I tend to like both ships.
The Hoplite. Because it was created to be a dropship for Squadron 42, and it wasn't good enough, and they ended up making the Valkyrie.
Yep,
so
I suppose
it still has its place, but it's so close to other dropships, I don't think it needs to exist.
My frustration with the Hoplite was the fact that it was a new ship at the time, and the Javelin was an old ship. But the hangar bay and it's the same idea with Redeemer. The Javelin's hangar was made for the Redeemer, but the Redeemer was a new ship and the Javelin was an old ship.
Yeah.
The Hoplite kind of, at least, I think the Hoplite was older, but it just really didn't seem to work. And I like the idea of the Liberator, but I think the Javelin needs to have, because it's an old ship, the Marines landing craft for the Javelin needs to be an old ship as well. It needs to be that landing pad in a Javelin needs to be designed for an old ship.
Now, Citizen Ninja on Twitch says the Cutty Steel. Now, I don't think the Cutty Steel shouldn't exist. I just think it's price wrong. And I think Algared would agree with me on that, yeah. An armored cutlass is actually not a terrible idea, which is essentially what it's meant to be.
Although my frustration with the cutlass and upgunning a cutlass is the fact that Drake ships are already upgunned over, you already got your chassis, you've already upgunned it as much as you can, and now you've got another version of the same ship that's already upgunned as much as you can, and you've upgunned it even further and put more armor on it. That's my frustration with the cutlass steel. So I get where he's coming from as well. But Paul would say the Redeemer.
Remind me to tell you something about the Iron Shed after stream. I just remember I got to share something with you.
Yep.
JC Kaboom says, "Will the caterpillar be reworked?" It better be.
Eventually.
It better be.
Well, look,
Yeah.
we now know that the ironclad's cab can work with the caterpillar. So, from the Q&A, so that's interchangeable. That tells it needs a change. We know it's an old ship. We know that its side doors still don't work properly. It needs to be changed. It still doesn't have any of its modularity. I think when that comes in, they're going to change it. So everything to me says the caterpillar needs to be reworked and redone. How they do it, I have no idea. Will they keep it the same look, the same feel? But it needs a gold pass. It needs everything fixed and working on it. So, and I expect when they do that, it'll get reworked. So yeah. What about you?
Yes, it definitely needs a rework. It's one of the ships kind of from the Kickstarter holdover. It has so many things going on with it. It's again one of those things where it just does too much. It's a little bit like a mini Endeavour. It just does too much. And I think from a development perspective, they're going to probably try and simplify it a little bit. And now that the Galaxy and the Ironclad are a thing, it is very, very unclear what its future holds. If John Crew, if I get to talk to John Crew, that's probably the question I'd be asking him at CitizenCon. What are your thoughts, and would you share with me any plans on what the Caterpillar is going to do?
Especially when you look at as you rightly picked up there, the Galaxy and the Ironclad really are. They really do tread on all those variants that the Caterpillar was going to have, and so that reduces what the Caterpillar was going to have. So where is it going to go? What's it going to? Where are you going to take it? So yeah, I've got those questions, and I think part of it is it does need a rework, and if they rework it, we'll get a better idea. But I think we need it. I think we need that rework earlier than later, just because of where it sits. Because I could also see that going the way of the Hornet, the Mark I Hornet.
All right. Death Factor says, "What do you think the process is for earning / adding tattoos like they've been showing off since CitizenCon?" I think they'll either be a part of the character creator eventually. We do know that they got refinements for that coming, as they talked about on an IRC a while ago. But also, I think it'll be a part of a profession. Knowing that they were working on a lot of fashion stuff about 12 months ago, they want to bring women into the game just as much as men, and you can totally see that girls would get in, well, I shouldn't say girls, but women would get into all the things that they enjoy as well. So fashion, designing fashion, hair and beauty and all that type of things. And let's be honest, it won't be just in the realm of women. There are guys that would want to do that as well, that change the way their character looks and stuff like that. But actually having that as the profession, as in you doing the job, there's a lot of women that will love doing that. Oh, I get to run my own hair and beauty salon, like Buster's Hair and Beauty Salon, or whatever, and you and I have talked about a ship that would do that too, didn't we, Algared? With the kind of like the doctor's profession, where you could change the way people's faces look, but that would fall under that, wouldn't it?
Yep. Yeah, I could see, the plastic surgeon for criminals who does the underside, the dirty clinic, but also the top of the line 890 jump clinic, where you go there, private hospital, and get the same type of treatment. And if you've got the money, they'll take you. But I also see, and I hope that the things with the tattoos, permanent, like you do the job, you rep grind, you get the permission to get that tat, you go get it done, and then unless you go get plastic surgery, you can't remove that tat. You can't go into your customizer and go, yeah, I'm not wearing that tat anymore. It's there. Because choices matter.
Yeah. Unless you go to a service that can remove it,
So you literally have to go to a service to remove it, and that means you stuff your rep.
I don't know if you'd stuff your rep. It would.
Well, if your reps
I think
giving,
we'll just
if the tatter is giving you that rep value to go on and say, yeah, you're that part. If you get rid of that tat, you've no longer got that.
Oh, I get it. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I get what you mean. Yep. Okay.
So
Yep.
yeah.
Citizen Ninja says, will either of you ambush Astropub in the bathroom at CitizenCon and tell him that he's your favorite streamer? I don't think I would need to do that. But
So I'm not.
apparently it's happened before. That's awkward.
Yeah,
I didn't know that. I didn't pull out and told us about that. So yeah.
No, that's a bit weird. No, that's certainly not my style.
No.
Um,
Mine either.
I'd be a lot more likely to talk to him in the pub and say,
yeah, I think we'll just sit and have a drink with him.
Analysis on this point was wrong.
I think we'll just sit and have a drink with him. So yeah.
But yeah, we'd be more likely to sit there and drink a pint with him or two.
Right. GTB 500 says, how effective do you think the Blade will be running the large multi-crew ships, Endeavour, Orion, etc., with only a few 2 to 4 org friends to play with? I think we kind of talked about this a little bit before. The more NPCs you have, the more of them you're going to have to manage. But turret gunners, they'll be very good at being. And again, we've talked about how they're going to work before, because we know other systems that trying to put in place. I don't think there's going to really be that big a problem. The only problem will become NPC management if you have too many of them.
Yep.
And again, it's really obvious they're trying to get you to work together with other people.
I've always thought, like, I have, I think 8 or 9 game packs. So I've got 12, I think. But some of those are giveaways. But I've got 8. I've got, those number of game packs. That's 12 or so NPCs I could theoretically have. Now, do I expect to be able to have 12 NPCs running at the same time? No. I don't think that's conceivable. I think they talked about 2 to 4 as being the max, and I'd probably say it's 3 is what most people could reasonably deal with and run with. Having 2 to 4 friends with 2 or 3 NPCs each, that easily means I could run a more crew intensive ship. I think blades will make it easier. I think NPCs will make it easier. Will you have more fun with more people? Yeah, sure. But could you run them with NPCs and blades? Absolutely. We're already seeing that with the way people are running the Idrises. So, yep. Jose says, unless you want to add any more to that, but I don't think you do, because you already said it. So, Jose says, let's say that the only way to play Star Citizen on release was using Elon's Neuralink. Would you undergo the operation or give up on Star Citizen? I would tell Elon to go F himself.
You'd have to buy a CIG to pull that off.
Yeah. I'd tell him to go F himself, and no, I wouldn't.
Yeah. I think Neuralink is really handy for the people that it's going to be able to help and stuff, but I think it's got a long way to go before a normal person would to get the benefits out of that, right? And I think we've got a long, the tech's got to really be proven and mature. And we already had that first guy. He had some issues where certain lanes dropped out, and he was really disheartened because it set him back, and he had to relearn how to do certain things and stuff like that. So again, that is the nature of being first. There are high likelihood that things are going to go wrong, and they've got to fix them, and they did fix them. But again, everything that goes wrong for him, they will learn from that, hopefully, and it won't happen as much to the next guy. And then the next person after that will be even less again and again. But again, you're dealing with a brain. It sounds like you can just go back in there and put those things back in all the time because it literally needs to heal. So, yeah, he's the guinea pig, that guy. Yep. And he'll probably do a lot before they get a second person to do it. So, yeah.
I think the Neuralink could be useful for people who do have conditions that limit their physical abilities. So some has a certain neurological disorders or diseases that I can't remember the ones where the body stops working, but the mind's fine. Something like Neuralink that enables them to actually function or use their computers or
You mean
do
like
things.
cerebral palsy or
Worse than cerebral palsy, but yeah, those types of things. I think they would be, they're the types of areas where
paralysis is, I think, would be a broad sweeping term for it. So
would be
yeah,
ones where it could
yeah.
really help. But yeah, it's not something that I'm.
Yeah, as I said, I think you agree with the term. It's got to be proven a lot more before a
Yeah.
normal person would use it. So
Yeah. Stephen Brown has
yeah,
a comment for us. He says, X, if you need a laptop for SitCon, you could use mine. I'm halfway between Birmingham and Manchester.
Okay, cool. Well, reach out by Discord, Stephen. It's got to be able to do a bit of 3D stuff. So it's got to be able to, because it uses an NVINC encoder to encode the stream. So it's got to have some kind of 3D ability. It can't just be any laptop. But yeah, please, if you've got one, because I don't want to buy one just to use for 2 days, and it's also ridiculously expensive to hire them. But that's my only other recourse would be to hire one. And it would just be really easier if me and Algared had a laptop to use, because I don't use a laptop. I don't need one. I just use my PC at home. I don't travel very often. Like the last time I traveled was to the Philippines, which was a year ago, and that's the first time I'd gone on vacation in like 8 years. So, and I'm only going to this one because it's CitizenCon, and we were going to go to the big one. So yeah, I only really need to borrow one. But yeah, if you've got one, yeah, man, reach out. I'd be happy to borrow someone's, especially a fellow citizen, because then it just makes it easier. I'd probably need it the day before so I could get some stuff set up, but then I'd just need it for the 2 days to do CitizenCon. So yeah, if you're cool with that, that'd be awesome.
I think we're definitely both in the same boat in terms of CitizenCon being a holiday. Like for me, it's for you had your holiday last year, which was the first and 8th. For me, this is my first holiday in 10 or 11 years. So
yep.
Man, I'm so overdue.
You won't believe him when all that hair grows back after the break. It'll be full afro.
I'll have a full head of luxurious brown hair instead of grey,
You'll look like a stick of broccoli instead of an egg. Yeah. Braden, I think is the next one there. What is the legal?
Doesn't make sense.
What is the legal ramification for releasing by Q1? There's a contract with the British government about it had to be out by a certain date.
Yeah.
And similar connotations have happened to other games. So you can have contracts with governments, you can have contracts with companies. So one of the ones that we know, a couple of games I'm going to think of is like Cyberpunk and Darktide. There are a couple of ones that I've played. Like, for example, they had to have it out by a certain date because they'd promised the game will be available for people that were getting a certain graphics card. So basically, it had to be out by that date. And again, there was a similar thing with the Polish government for Cyberpunk and Nvidia, and it's the same thing here. There's a thing with the British government where it's got to be at the very least in beta by Q1, which means we will be getting a new. It's got to be in beta for us to play.
So my understanding is with the British government's, and we could have it totally wrong, but my understanding, and I'm pretty certain it's yours as well, is that the tax cuts and the grants that the Star Citizen got for having, doing stuff in Manchester, had it incorporated into that kind of agreement that the game would be out by X time. And I think that came to light through the financials and the details that people have gone into and looked at. I haven't gone into detail and looked at those aspects, but I'm going on what numerous people have told us and gone through.
Yeah.
But that's our understanding, and it's certainly something that people have said. But even beyond that, like, I know that before COVID, Chris was planning to go to to Manchester for a year to finish off Squadron. He couldn't go for 2 years. He went the year he went. At the end of that year, Squadron was feature complete. So I've got no doubt as to the process and what we're doing. And I 100% think that regardless of whether they've got that agreement or not, this year or Q1 next year is when we're seeing Squadron. I've got no doubt. I could be wrong, but I've got no doubt. All right, next.
I'm just replying. What is it? Question for Execute. Did you know in the UK we don't say but we do say Well, wouldn't that just be an accent different, Algared?
Yeah, I just think that's an accent difference. Volta says, because we're not even going to try and say your name because it always throws us. Talking about consoles, PC games releases, do you think Squadron 42 will be released as a physical release in different languages? A German box release, UK box release, US box release?
There's pros and cons to the physical release versus the digital release. I think CIG being a bit smaller might have to do a physical release because they only have their own digital distribution. It's not like they have a Steam platform with a store or any of the other myriads of other ones. Plus, you're generally, at the moment, especially dealing with an older audience that would probably like some physicality. We've also got, because it was like 10 years ago, we also have physical goods that they have to make anyway. So I can't see why they wouldn't unless they cancel and then compensate. I'll let you answer on that one. I think a bit more.
There were some of the models of the, I think the 5-inch model of the Connie got updated to the 10-inch model that we actually got shipped, and they got updated to one of those and got shipped one of those or offered one of those.
Nope.
At the time.
I've never been offered one.
But I thought that was the case. I think you could, at the time, you could either get one for $50 extra or something like that, whatever the price was. But that was my memory. I could be wrong on that, but
no, I've never been offered anything, and I've had that pack the whole time. So yeah, I've never had an email or a message or anything. So yeah.
But that, you know, that's like I said, that's my memory. I know the very small model ships, the USBs are still a thing. I know we've got the boxes.
Well, USB
as a limited.
USBs themselves are not even really used that much these days. Like a $5 one now is like a 16 gigabyte USB drive. Like they've really dropped in popularity. They're not used that much.
The value of USB is it'll look like a ship. You know but we're talking 10 years ago. 10 years ago.
Well, 10 years ago, a lot of people were using USB sticks.
You know,
but now,
the bee's knees.
If the game actually came on the USB drive, that would be valuable to me because they'd have a hard copy, you know, so to speak.
A hard copy of the drive, and it would also be a very large drive.
Well, I honestly think what I'm trying to get at is I'm surprised they haven't done more manufacturers. Well, it's a cost thing, right? That's why they haven't done it. Why give games out on disc anymore? Just give them out on a USB stick. If they cost $5, then charge $5 more.
Yep.
If the game's 30, but well, okay, in the case of Star Citizen, the game will probably like a normal game is $70, then charge $75. And when I say $5, I'm talking $5 Australian, so it's not even that much US, right? Yeah. But again, if you charge $75 USD, and I'd put that question out to I guess I could do it on a poll if you really want to see, but I would happily pay $5 to get on a USB stick over getting it on a DVD or a CD, so to speak. It'd be a DVD because you're going to do multiple discs now. I think the last thing I heard was there was some game came out and it was 8 DVDs.
Yeah.
How ancient does that sound? Do you remember I remember when I was in high school trying to install Windows, and it was literally like 22 floppy disks.
I can remember Wing Commander was 3 or 4 floppy disks.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. So it's kind of crazy.
Goods, I could see them doing two things. I can see them producing the game in box sets just for those limited ones that they have to do. I could see them also doing the same thing and having them in stores or available in stores or available on the site to purchase. I could see them using a game distributor to do that type of stuff, and I know we've heard rumours down the track, but we can't talk about them and mention names, but we've heard rumours. But whether they're rumours or actuality or I don't know, have no idea.
But yeah, I think they will have to do some box versions just because of things they've previously promised.
Yeah.
And I think it would probably be good marketing anyway. I don't know. Because honestly, couldn't they just also sell them on their own website as well?
Yeah, they could.
And I mean that in a hard copy, because they're already
Yeah.
selling merch, so it's not that hard
Well,
to sell hard copy stuff. I think the biggest problem they face, honestly, is just getting the game out there for people to find, because the website needs a huge overhaul because it's not easy to access. Um, and I just, yeah, well, again, I think that's coming. I think that's one of the things they're obviously working in the background. Like, do you just go to squadron42.com and you can pick your version and it goes to cart, bang? Yes, I want a digital one. Or no, I want this one because it's got physical goods and stuff like that. And it's a great way to make money, because I guarantee you, anyone that's brought Star Citizen, they go, oh, and buy for an extra $20, you can get a hard copy, and it's sent to your house or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, you get where I'm going with this, right? It's an upselling thing, is what I'm essentially saying.
yeah, and they'll do the upsell. Right, we already get the upsell, I think. As I was saying, digital only means no sales tax. No, I'm sorry. Some bastard country was tacking that on, and I know Australia now tax it on. You buy anything on
it was
digital,
really,
you're paying GST.
yeah, it literally took them 2 years to implement it here in Australia. There was one of the it was Gerald Harvey, the guy that runs Harvey Norman, which is a retail chain here in Australia. He was complaining so much that online retailers didn't have to pay tax, and he has a lot of sway, and he kept pushing the government to eventually they wanted to bring it in, and eBay and Amazon and that went back to them and said, we can't just turn this, because they only gave them 2 months, and they go, we just can't turn this on overnight. This will literally take us years to do this. And so they gave them 2 years to do it, and it is now in, and you pay GST on everything now. Even if you order it from other countries. The only ones that don't really follow it that much are a lot of the Asian countries. But like, that's why CIG, we have to pay goods and services tax, because we didn't have to pay it up. I think it was just after, it's about 2015, wasn't it, Algared, around then?
Yep. And it's not CIG imposing that. That's
the government.
They have to pay that to the government.
Which also makes it a purchase, not a pledge, in Australia anyway. And there are other countries around the world. So all that pledge stuff is really, again, American stuff. So certain countries, it just does not apply. And I also know from certain people in America, it is a purchase in certain states in America as well. So know your rights and know your laws and stuff like that. And yeah, don't let them bullshit you.
Yep, indeed. So,
Yep.
Yeah, my purchases are my ships, not pledges.
Yep.
Yeah, they're purchases. I would have gladly surrendered my purchases for shares in the company.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I'm pretty certain a multitude of gamers would have done the same thing, Chris. You didn't need to go private. You could have gone to your backers, and they would have helped you out to the cows come home.
Oh, absolutely.
Anyway, that's just my political jab.
I think he probably wanted to share it with people that were that he knew and trusted. But by the same token, if you'd done it with many people, you would have had more control. Because I think at the end of the day, that's what's come back to bite him. And you and I talked about this.
I think you're 100% right, but that's just our view. Braden says, "What would you like the Death of the Space? What would you like Death of the Spaceman to look like?"
Okay, like this.
Pretty much. Like, the idea of Death of the Spaceman is you have so many regenerations, and eventually what they talked about, or what Chris originally talked about, is you'd go through that routine, and then one day you'd wake up and you'd be in the character generator creating your character, or you'd actually have a cutscene where you were at the funeral.
Because that's the other thing I've just realised too, Algared, that I've never really thought about just until now, is old age. Because at some point, no, even if you just didn't go anywhere, right, you would have played the game totally safe as possible. Your character's going to age out.
Yep.
It's interesting.
Now we know that from age and other stuff, I think the longest a character can live is a couple of 100 years because of health and other stuff.
But in game, is it like 4 times the rate or some shit? So eventually you're going to die.
Yeah, eventually you'll cark it. And that will mean you'll need to do, at some point, Chris talked about, again, going way back to 2014, 2015. Chris talked about eventually you'll die. You'd have your number of lives, and eventually instead of waking up in the hospital bed, you'd wake up and you'd be at the funeral. And then after that, you'd go to character generation and you'd do that. And I think he even talked about at one point, you would create your character and then you'd create your heir was going to be like. So that when you died and you came back, you went to the funeral and you actually then were playing that character. So he had ideas how that's going to work. Well, I don't know, but I like that idea.
He even said that as soon as you created your character, you also named your next of kin. Yeah. So you were literally naming your next character before you even, and you could also see how they'll take certain genetic traits of your character, and if you kind of got married or something like that, it would probably genetically combine and say this is most likely what this character would look like. So it'll do part of the content creation for you. It even kind of hinted that you could start as one race and essentially repetitively kind of breed with another and transfer to the other over time through multiple breeding sessions. I don't know how else to say that, but yeah, you get my point, right? Yeah.
So we've got ideas. I think there's been ideas put forward, and we're going way back to what that Death of the Spaceman or what that final scene of your character's life would be. I can see Death Factor says the funeral cutscene should be 45 minutes. If I could interact in that cutscene, if I could walk around and do the, and it was kind of a mini campaign, a mini adventure, yeah, I could cope with that. If it's just me watching the video, nah, I'm sorry. As great as I'd love to see old man Hurston's funeral and shed a tear for him, no, I don't want to sit there for 45 minutes. That would be excruciating.
Yeah.
Unless there's things for me to do, unless I can go loot his premises or whatever and get the will and so.
Okay, Rudy Dyer says, what's the difference between the Aurora MR and the MR Plus? MR Plus? There's an MR Plus? I don't know what an
MR.
There's no MR Plus, is there? There's just the
that
MR.
Came a lot of years ago and just recently came back. I don't know if I should melt it. The MR is just the
but
marquee.
There's no Marquee Plus. There's other variants. Does he assume he's meaning the LN?
Could be the LN, could be the LX. I'm not sure what you're saying.
There's just small little changes like mainly hard points, extra weapons. One's got a leather seat, one doesn't. One has a bigger cargo container. They're all very minimalistic, small changes. And again, you're probably talking $5. So you could just upgrade to the best one for $5.
The MR is, I think, 35 if you buy it in shop, and the MR and the LN is 45.
Yeah, so $10 then.
Yeah. $10 max.
Yeah.
Personally, if you've got an Aurora, you'd bet, unless it's got LTI, melt it, buy a package that's got LTI.
Well, if he was here, old pack, then he probably does have LTI. Just upgrade it. Yeah.
And then if it does have LTI, upgrade it to the ship you want. But the Aurora is a starter ship, so pick the starter ship you like. Yeah. If there's a new one, and just upgrade to it.
So something like the Cutter, the Avenger, or if you want to go even higher, start looking at like the Cutlass and the C1 and things like that. But if you're unsure, ask in one of the channels like Ship Scrutiny or Fix My Fleet on the Inforunners Discord. You'll get heaps of suggestions if you go on there and ask.
Yeah, sorry. And the other thing is to look at what's in that pack. If it's one with physical goods, you don't want to melt it because you can't unmelt it in that case.
Yeah.
Is it a ship that comes with extra things? All of those types of aspects are things you want to look at. But yeah.
In some cases, like Algared's suggesting, even though it might not have the insurance or stuff like that, if it's a rarer package, you hold on to it and just buy a new ship.
Yeah.
Right, who's next? Sea Shepherd says, do you see CIG implementing life insurance on weapons and gear? If not, why are they not allowing players to keep their gear after death? I think that is a distinct possibility once insurance comes in, yes.
I don't think you can get life insurance on inanimate objects, though.
What do you mean inanimate objects?
Well, a gun's not a living object, so you can't get life insurance on it.
I think I think he's trying to imply LTI, but I get your point, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
I was just being facetious.
Yes.
But yeah, I think
especially from mercenaries when they're repetitively dying and stuff like that, makes a lot of sense.
Oh yeah, or at least, and I could say, well, we talked about it in the past. I talked about the ship hull insurance being originally being the stuff that you originally got from the factory,
Yeah.
and if you'd made changes to it, then you would have to pay an update to your insurance to kind of get that covered. So insurance was always seen as the money sink. That was the whole purpose of it.
Yeah.
So the plan of insuring your cargo, insuring your items, insuring your other stuff, I think down the track we'll see it. But at the moment, it's not really there. It's not really implemented because we don't have the gameplay. So, yeah.
Okay, so we're down to under 10 questions here, and we've got about an hour to go. So if you want to get some questions in, feel free to send us some more in, please. Appreciate it. Right, Duran Vosky says, what are the top items needed to improve bounty hunting?
Scanning.
Absolutely the number one. And I think it's not just bounty hunting. It'll improve a lot of stuff. Yeah. There's nothing bigger than scanning. Everything else can fall by the waysides, and they're all nice to haves. They really, really are. But if you can't find people, how can you kill them? It's that simple. And it also improves it for pirates as well, not just bounty hunters. Anything else you want to add, Algared, or not?
No, I think that's 100%. The thing I could see, down the track, you could see things like the ability for bounties to surrender peacefully rather than just having to kill them. Mm-hmm. And the consequences of that, I could see restraints and other stuff. But the key thing you need is the ability to scan and search. And that means scanning needs to be in.
Yep.
So, and also the ability, if you're a police officer or acting on the law, if they're in a law-abiding area and you find them, you should be able to take them down.
Yep. Yep.
Yep. So yeah.
Yep. I agree with that.
Without being shot by the legal forces.
Snoz asks, I get the feeling based on that happened with the Retaliators reworking, minimal changes, and the Ironclad / F7C Mark II new ship with clear direction. The newer ships are better to go with established game loops versus old ships made without game established. Okay, so I think what he's saying, because it's a little bit broken English there, is that they are bringing out ships with gameplay attached. That's what I'm hearing.
Yep.
Is that what you're hearing?
That's what I'm hearing.
Mm. And I would agree. I would agree with that.
They used to bring out ships when they were ready, when they were flyable, whether the gameplay was there or not.
Yep.
I think the Reclaimer was the last one they really brought out that didn't have gameplay.
There's one
other.
They
would argue, and they argued that, well, you can still do cargo.
There's two others. The raft, but as you said, cargo, and the scout. Scout's probably been the main, the cutter scout has been the main blasphemous one since that.
Yeah. So of the recent ones, the scout is the one that really sticks out because it doesn't have a scanning. You're right.
Yeah.
The raft, but yes, they were thinking that for the cargo factor, and I remember them even saying, yeah, it can't do the lift stuff at the moment or whatever, but it can do cargo, so it does its role. Mm-hmm. But yeah, they tried to avoid that. They used to bring the ships out when they were flight ready. They've tried to avoid doing that if gameplay is not there, and so they've tied it in. That does mean that older ships tend to not. I don't think they'll get reworked until the gameplay is there for it, and then they'll go back and rework it. But yeah.
Okay. Juravosky asks, I've noticed the Ironclad has 3 large fuel intakes. Does this mean it will be fuel efficient, or does it mean that it can refuel other things?
Or does it mean it's going to be so inefficient that it needs a fuel intakes to just keep itself going?
Well, it's also a bigger ship. It allows you to refuel it from different spots as well. It might not always be convenient to get to the same spot on a bigger ship.
Yep.
Fighters are a bit more maneuverable.
It could be any of it. Could be easier to refuel the ship. Could be easier to give it longer range. Could be more efficient. Could be less efficient. So it needs
Goes
we've got to wait.
Goes all. Yeah, you got to wait.
We've got to wait and see. We just don't know. There's so much we don't know about it at the moment. You just can't. You can get.
Death Factor says, given we've seen the swords, blades in Pyro, thoughts on laser swords? Yeah, swords are always coming because of the spears and stuff. So yeah, I always thought that was a given. Thoughts on a laser sword? I think they need to tread very carefully. But I do think that they'll get something akin to that. Yeah.
Laser swords, electric battens. Well, we already have a pacifier baton, a kind of an electric baton. It's sold with the Cutlass Blue, with its handcuffs.
Yeah. And
so
there's no reason they can't have like some kind of sword that has like a, how when you see blacksmithing Algared and it goes like red hot, like the iron, the blade or whatever goes red hot. Something that just superheats the edge of the blade, so when it goes through you, it sears. Yep. Or it could even be on the back of the blade as well. So as it cuts through, but it also sears on the way out. That could be really interesting because it makes healing really hard.
Yeah. But yeah, I know that in the ISC yesterday there was numerous times where they were showing the weapons. They were axes or swords that are seem to be attached to weapons or just weapons. So and I'm right. So yeah.
All right, Javosky says, when you go to CitizenCon, can you ask CSG about the Shadow Hawk, a stealth variant of the Hawk? What do you know of that, Algared?
I always thought the Hawk was always supposed to be stealthy.
Okay.
So
ask them what? Everything. When is it coming out, and what does it do, etc.? I didn't even know it was a thing until you mentioned it, Javosky.
I always thought that the Hawk was a stealth ship. Like the whole idea of it was a ship you could go into an area undetected and do stuff. So
he's saying in Twitch that it was in the lore. So there are several ships that are mentioned in the lore that don't actually exist. So I'm going to put that under does not exist, because I think that's probably where that's going to fall, Javosky. And we've got other ones to that effect, like the Bear Claw, the Bear Cat, the Jupiter, from other manufacturers as well. There was even Algared will tell you about a Terrapin variant that was a drop ship, and there's a whole bunch of them.
It's stealthy and it's crowded and horrible, but they like it, So lots of ships, lots of different variants. It's just a matter of seeing what they can do. A stealth variant could, the Shadow Hawk could even just be a variant they bring out that's just got the components, stealth components.
So he's also followed up again saying, hoping it maybe go on sale when Bounty Hunting 2.0 comes. Yeah, anything is possible, man. But there's no evidence that points to that. So you're on the term that people would use is hopium or copium, but that's totally valid. If you're hoping for that, you keep hoping for that, but do have realistic expectations. You may never see it. I think the best you'd probably get is a skin for the Hawk.
Yeah.
To be honest, and I'm not aware of it being very stealthy like Algared is saying. I'm other than putting stealth components in it, that's the only thing I can think of that would make it stealthy, Algared.
I'm going on what they said at the time of release and how they were talking about it. Is it actual stealthy in game? I can't tell you because I tend not to use it. I like it, but I don't use it.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, could they do it? Yeah. Do I expect them to do it? I have no idea. But I could see when bounty hunting comes out, I could see them doing a whole plethora of small bounty hunting ships and giving stealth and different abilities to the ships and selling them because it's funding. So.
Right, Volta says, why do you think the gala on Friday before CitizenCon was cancelled? We did talk about this a little while ago, Volta, and we did a video that's on the channel of what happened. It's called What Happened to the Gala. If you kind of want our thoughts on that, that would be the easiest way to answer that without going back over it, Algared, unless you want to add to that.
No, I think that's exactly what he needs to do. Go watch our video and then join the discussion afterwards and say what you think.
Or watch earlier on in the stream.
Yeah, or watch early on in the stream. Yeah. Although watching the previous video would help our analytics. So
they both help our analytics. Let's be honest. Right.
Okay.
Clever Ghost question: Banner Matchman S8 guns are worth waiting for, right? Yeah, absolutely.
The banner
waiting for the banner matchman is worth it, right?
Especially if you got it at early prices. Even like I even think even if you pick up a banner merchant now at its current price, it's still going to be significantly cheaper than what it's going to end up being.
Yeah, but yep, can't disagree.
Because it looks closer to an interest in size, and so you look at an interest
and not
that's what I expect.
Not to mention you've still got time to pick up Warbond CCUs to bring that $650 price down anyway. So yeah,
100%.
Yeah. All right. Dear Vosky says, considering your idea implementation of Death of a Spaceman, what should the penalty for murder be? Right now, it's like a few hours in Klesha. That's really hard because you're taking a lot of control away from the player. It really comes down to the penalty has to be worth the time. So again, if they're killing you and you're losing a lot of rep and stuff like that, they need to lose a lot of rep and if they get caught, that is, right? But it's got to be worth them putting a bounty out against you. Like they're not going to put a bounty on you if they can't afford it, but if you've made them lose a shit ton of rep and they want to get back at you, then they will pay to get your rep stuffed over. You know what I mean?
I think my view is slightly different from yours. I think if I see murder as an unlawful killing, I don't know if that's a fairly picking at straws type of argument, but if you are going out killing people and murdering people and going against the tenets of society, then you should be penalised and, either lose your life yourself, capital punishment, or go to Klesha and be there permanently. I hate the idea. One of the things I hate is the idea of you are an arsehole in game and you go to an area and play the game and have fun. That's not punishment. I'm sorry. That's reward. That's a reward. So if you're going to be an arsehole, your punishment needs to be severe.
There are downsides to being lawful and a criminal. Yeah. But most people would agree that being a criminal has more downsides than upsides, and it restricts what you can do, and it makes the game more difficult. But it can be more rewarding to do that in some cases. And I'm talking about when you look at games like Freelancer, I think it has to be a lot like what he's planned with that. And again, the crime does have to do the time, but by the same thing, by a criminal nature, I don't think you will I think you can avoid it, but I think like if you murder someone in a certain system, other systems may have jurisdiction to expedite you, but I think others will not. So I think there'll be ways you can dance around being caught for murder, but I think it'll build over time. Like in Grand Theft Auto, how your stars kind of go up. Like, well, you've done this crime, you've gone to level 1, then 2, and then it escalates essentially, right? So eventually there's diminishing returns to the point where you are going to get caught, but the higher it goes, the bigger the punishment. So yeah, if it gets to like level 5, then maybe they do execute you, and maybe it's execution in one system but not in another.
I still think if you're a murder hobo, and I'm taking the extreme view there, your punishment shouldn't be going to Klesha for a couple of hours and having gameplay.
No, I think it will affect you rep-wise.
But if you're a criminal and you're in a situation where, as a result of, an unavoidable situation where you actually kill someone, it's self-defense because they're trying to kill you or they decide to fight you or whatever. The crime has to fit the time has to fit the crime, and I think there's a balance between in the gameplay you killed X because they resisted too much even though you had them over a barrel, or they self-destructed their ship so you got the crime stat or whatever.
I'm sure they will make it balanced from a gameplay perspective. It's just that our feelings aside, when you're designing a game, you've obviously got to have it balanced, and I have no doubt with the team that they've got there, they'll be chucking ideas backwards and forwards all over the place, and they will make it work. But like Algared said, if it gives them the ability to keep griefing people and repetitively keep doing that, then they'll adjust it again.
And and it is that balance. If you're going out being a murder hobo, just going to Clash for a couple of hours is BS. Especially if there's ways that you can escape and you can still do gameplay. So that to me, that is just rewarding antisocial behaviour.
Gets worse, Algared. I don't want to say anything because I'll set you off, but it gets worse.
Yep.
Well, but, I've got two characters, Algared. I murder hobo you, go to jail, log out, get on my other character and just play while that one runs the timer out.
Yep. And so, and that's a problem. It is a problem. And it's how do you balance it? And
yeah. And I don't care. And that guy can literally have his thing in the toilet, and I can just run around on my normal character, and I see you over there, and I know you're at Crusader. Get back on my toileted rep guy, send him over, murder hobo you again, log out, go back to Clasher, log back onto my new character and keep playing, and you didn't even know it was me that killed you.
No, and I've got my multiple accounts too, because I want to be able to do the criminal as well as the law abiding, as so, and I'm pretty certain everyone's in the same boat, but there is that element where and you're right, you could be my friend. I've got to log off now. I've got to go cook dinner or whatever, and then come back and kill me with your murder hobo. Yeah, absolutely.
I think alts are something I'd rather not see in this game, to be honest, because I think there needs to be consequences to your actions. But I do think agent smithing to an NPC is totally fine, because the rep doesn't go with you and it doesn't come back, and that's totally fine. But again, if you murder hobo on an NPC, that should be tracked about to your account.
Yeah.
Because it's meant to be like
It's and I think that's part of that whole idea of why we haven't heard anything on that agent smithing idea. They're still trying to work out how they're going to work.
Yeah, because there's pros and cons either way, and again, as soon as you allow someone to do something, someone's going to do something wrong.
Yeah,
that's just it.
Like even with agent smithing, I always think if you're just NPC, taking over one of my NPCs and there's no consequences for you, you don't care if that NPC dies.
Yeah.
Oh, I'll just come and get another NPC. So there's got to be that balance there, but you also don't want to. There's also no reward for you if there's no benefit. If there's no benefit for you coming to do it, but just the fun. Yeah. Why do that? Why don't I go over to your ship? Because
it's a slippery slope, isn't it?
So there's a yin and yang for both of those, and. Zazef says, for space truckers, how about a mission where you can't QT with cargo so that you have a 1 hour flight along, like Firmex is already such a cargo item?
Yep. Absolutely, and also into things like nebulas and stuff like that. That'll 100% be a thing.
Yep, I'd like to see more of those types of missions. I did once do a mission with in an MPUV doing that type of stuff, so that was a fun mission. 40 minutes to fly up to the station just so I could.
Yeah. We just confirmation that Algared's a masochist. All right, good to know.
Yes,
right.
Yes. Fine.
Right,
Chris,
go ahead. You go.
Which of the starter ships do you see yourself still using regularly, even after you've tons of large ships? Which ships do I take out?
The cutter.
Avenger. Cutter is probably my go-to at the moment.
Yeah, it's just something cool about it, isn't it?
I did even upgrade Justatoon's account, so she has a cutter rather than an Aurora. So that's my go-to. That's my go-to starter ship.
Careful, people will start to think you're a Drake fanboy. Algared, be careful.
I probably will, but that's okay. Yeah. Look, I'm not a fanboy of any company per se. There are certain ships I prefer, and there are certain ships I detest. And it just happens that Drake has the one ship I absolutely detest above all others, and that is the Steel. Yeah. Because I think it's a piece of bullshit. I think it's rubbish.
Well, that's the one you'd remove from the game then.
And that is purely because it's not an anti-Drake thing. It's because the Drake ship is already overgunned for the chassis, and then they've overgunned it again, and that to me just idiocy. And then you've taken off the thing that makes it advantage, giving it the cargo, and stripped it out with the living quarters and turned it into a 20-man coffin. That's just lunacy. I understand it being done for a game purpose, say for something like Theatres of War or that, but yeah, it just seems stupid.
Yeah, it needs. If they made it so it also had a way to mount to other ships, like, do you remember how I talked about the cutter kind of magnetizing the hull? If it had something like that where it could latch onto other ships, man, it would actually be a really cool little cheap and dirty boarding craft too. I don't know, there's a few little changes they could make to it. We'll see. Right, Happy R Bob says, after all the conversations over the Ironclad and how it affects the C2, M2 and the Liberator, do you think the Liberator might get upscaled or grow in capabilities, size and the like? No, because I think its place is pretty obvious. It's a transportation ship. It only has 2 crew members. It really is an A to B vehicle. It is not a combat vehicle. It is literally a vehicle transportation ship. That is what it's for. And that is really evident in the fact that it does a little bit of everything. And what I mean by that, it does vehicles and ships. And and it happens to have a little bit of cargo. And I think it is very clearly, when they say this ship is needed for pyro, people seem to think it's just to do with the distance of pyro. It's got nothing to do with the distance of pyro. It's the jump point. This is the ship that transports ships and vehicles through the jump point. One, vehicles don't have quantum drives or jump drives, but there are ships that don't have jump drives. How do they get through?
Yep.
The Liberator. You could make a whole shitload of money literally just going from station to station through the jump point. Yep. That's all you would need to do, because they can get themselves to the jump point, to the station in a, I don't know, pick a ship, one of the fighters or whatever, right? They can get them there, but they just physically can't get themselves through the jump point. So they need someone to take them through. That's what that Liberator is. It is the jump point ferry. Algared?
No. I've got nothing else to add, because it's we've talked about this many times, and it's a theme that you, me, and Paul always say. It's the shipping ship.
Yep.
Sangroper says, with Xeno threat, a lot of people have been on the Idris or flying the Idris. Does this suggest people who own them might see them in hangars soon?
No.
Sooner than expected? No.
No, they kind of want to keep a lot of it for Squadron. And I think with the bugs, it kind of ruined it a little bit for people. I've deliberately kind of been staying away because I'm going to kind of keep that for Squadron for myself. But I think it's more of a Squadron thing than anything.
Yeah, as you said earlier, it's people have been flying it because of the bug. They've been able to get in, and then we've got this fully crewed Idris that's a murder weapon.
I just thought of something else too. Server meshing.
Yeah.
Like the Reclaimer, when it dropped, every man and his dog was spawning their own Reclaimer, and it just kept killing the server. Now, right now, you can have 1 or 2 Idrises on the entire thing, but if everyone had the ability to spawn one, you'd have 20 to 30 on one server, and it would just kill it without server meshing.
Well, I can remember when the Reclaimer came out, we'd spawn half a dozen of them at Olisar, and you'd see the server tank. People would say, who's been spawning Reclaimers? I'm sorry, it was us.
Yeah. Well, I think it actually goes a little bit further now I think about it. I don't even think you could do it with static. I think you really need dynamic. Because, again, if I'm in one area, so let's just say there was a server that was around Crusader, here I'm going with this, right? Like, if they just happen to spawn 10 inside that area and the server can't handle it, it's dead.
Yeah,
but if it's dynamic, it doesn't matter how many they spawn, because then it can change to fit.
Yeah, it just changes the area. This one's over at the station now.
So, yeah, I think they're aiming for... We're going to need dynamic server meshing before we really see I know they want to have the Polaris in game by CitizenCon, but does that also mean they want to have dynamic server meshing by CitizenCon? Because I start to think that way, right? How can you do that? Like, or are they just going to have an artificial limit where, well, too bad, there's only 5 available for the entire server. There's 5 in game right now.
You're waiting queue.
You're out of luck. You got to wait till one blows up or whatever, So
and Steve Brown, thank you for that £5 super chat. He says, X, I sent you friend request on Discord. Can you collect, so you can collect laptop? It's perfect for your needs. Big fan of the channel. Thank you.
Yep, I'll give
Thanks for that super chat.
Stimpack Steve, I assume that's you. So, yep, accepted.
Yep.
Yep.
So,
I just
thank you, Steve. Awesome.
was streaming, so I hadn't seen it. That's all.
Yeah. We tend to avoid the Discord individual stuff while we're streaming because we're paying attention to our stream chat and YouTube and Discord and Twitch as well. So,
thank you for the £5 as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah, cool. Well, definitely be in touch to talk to you about that because that would be a huge barrier and headache for me in Algared, that's for sure.
Yeah.
Yep.
So certainly with the Idris, and one of the things we've talked, like that whole thing about server meshing with the Idris raised the question: are they planning or hoping to get that in time for the release of Squadron? Because they have said, we'll get the Idris at the release of Squadron and the Javelin soon after. So that kind of, if that's the case, that it's linked to server meshing or dynamic server meshing, that gives you an idea of what they're hoping for. And I'm not saying that means they're going to get it, but it's what they're hoping for and hoping to be able to give up. So.
Well, they're already kind of looking now at staticky. Well, look at the Evo. They're kind of doing the staticky test now. I don't know. I kind of put that back to you. Do you think that they could get to dynamic by the end of the year? It's possible, but
yeah,
I don't know. I don't know. How long's a piece of string? That's that whole.
That is always a question, isn't it?
Yeah, we don't have all the information either, too. So we don't know. Again, you can read those daily messages that they have on the SC testing chat, and all you can do is kind of follow development and see where it's going. But again, we will never have all the information because they just don't share that stuff. But yeah, I'm hopeful. We know that they'll be able to get to dynamic now from what they've said. It's just time. But how long is that going to take? Is it going to be 6 months? Is it going to be 2 years? We don't know.
And that's the thing they don't even know because it's the nature of development. You go 2 steps forward, you might go 1 step back. Sometimes you might go 1 step forward and 3 steps back. But when you're doing something brand new, that's what you get, and it's just a matter of it's a joy of the game development as well as the pain. But yeah.
Well, shit, I forgot. I will have to go look, right, for something. I drew the ship. I drew the winner of the ship for the Sorley.
Oh, right.
And
you haven't, and you were going to give it out and announce it, but you forgot.
All right, someone replied. Wait, so the person that won it was called Charlie Sleeper 7318. They haven't replied, so I will give them a few days or whatever, and if they don't reply, then I'll have to draw another one. But yeah, Charlie won that one, and yeah, if you can get back to me, Charlie, via Discord. But what I also want to do is I think we'll give another one away, or another ship. I don't know what it's going to be yet, with whatever video we do on the weekend, Algared, and that'll be the same thing. So just like, subscribe, and leave a comment, any comment you want. And then Algared and I will probably give it 2 weeks, and or until after the stream next week. So at least a week. And me and Algared will talk about what ship that's going to be.
I am going to put a caveat into your any comment you like. It must not be insulting or a put down of anyone.
If it's an insult of Algared, I'll allow it. No,
right?
I'm kidding.
Yeah, I know, but no negatives. It has to be.
Yeah. The other thing I do need to stress too is you have to be publicly viewable as a subscriber. Because if I can't see you as a subscriber, I don't know you're a subscriber. So you have to make it publicly viewable. Because and it's actually quite hard. I have to actually go through. So the way I ended up doing it was I went through and I looked at all the comments on the video, and then you can set it to publicly viewable subscriber, and then I had to count them all, and there was 137, and then I went in Google, I went random number between 1 and 137, and then it gave me 6, and that happened to be Charlie's Sleeper's comment.
Yeah, so there's not just a bang, you win. It's if we want to do it fairly, and we have to go through those checks, and
so But yeah, congratulations, Charlie Sleeper. Reach out to me via Discord. Oh, it's Charlie Sleeper 7318. Yeah, I've messaged him, but he hasn't replied on there, and I haven't had anyone reach out to me via Discord. If by the weekend, so we'll give him to tomorrow, because I only did it last night, so he hasn't even had 24 hours. How long should we give him? A week? All right, so let's say next week's stream, Algared. Someone remind us next week.
Then we'll do another.
Yeah, and then we'll redraw it on the stream. You know,
Yeah.
we'll do it then.
Sandgroper, you can insult the Cutlass Steel, but you're not allowed to put people down.
Yep.
No insult to people, no political comments, none of that other BS, no political correctness. Okay?
Yep.
So, but no insults, no put downs.
Yeah.
So, yeah, golden rule, treat each other as you expect to be treated, that type of stuff, you know, but
Richard,
make it friendly.
Richard Wenborn says, I remember you touched on a previous video that SC may move to a subscription service. If so, what are your thoughts? I'm not sure how I feel about it if they continue selling ships, etc. Yeah, it comes down to the cost of running the servers, you see. That's the thing. Like, and especially if you're doing these dynamic servers, I've got to assume their costs are going to fluctuate. I don't know how else to say that. And you know, we'll put it this way: if you had, how do you determine how many people are going to be playing the game? Like, and every game that comes out that is an MMO, they've had to keep having funding because you can't just fund it on new people alone. And I'm going to be honest with you, I don't think it's fair to fund it on only ships because you'll get people that don't buy any ships, and then people that buy heaps of ships. And quite honestly, I think you need to share the load a little bit. I think there needs to be a minimum cost that everyone pays, and then if you go beyond that, that's up to you. But I don't think so. It's one of the reasons I hate free-to-play games. Just by having a tiny barrier of entry, it changes the way people think about stuff, right? And you can go look at games like the obvious one is something like, say, League of Legends, one of the very first kind of free-to-play type games. It has a massive problem with toxicity, right? You can buy, say, spend $5,000 on skins in that game, and you'll get treated exactly the same as the guy that just started the game that comes in and starts insulting the shit out of everyone. And you up until recently, you had 3 strikes and you were done, right? And they would ban your account, and you could never ever get it back, and it was done, right? And didn't matter how much you'd spent. And I don't think that's fair. Because you spent money, you funded their game, you pushed it forward. So what apparently they ended up doing was they moved it to a strike system, but the strikes faded off over time. So I think it was like 1 strike was moved every 12 months. So if you got 3 strikes and were banned, you literally had to wait 3 years to get your account back. Now, I think that's a lot fairer because that's a punishment then if you do something wrong, and you can learn from it. If you just outright ban people, you can't do them, right? But again, not having any barrier of entry, it encouraged people just to, well, I don't care. I'll just be an asshole to everyone and insult everyone, and they ban me. I don't care because my entertainment is not playing the game. It's actually insulting people because I can just go make another free email and a free account. That's the type of shit you want to stop. Where if you've got to pay $60 to get into the game, you're not just going to go out and get yourself banned over and over and over again. And
Not if it's $60 to get back in each time, no.
yeah, and what they've found is in certain countries where the games are cheaper, so I'm now thinking of the game like Hunt Showdown, where in Asian countries it was only like $5 to $10. So they were rampant cheaters across the board. But then you go to a Western country where they're paying $60+, they weren't doing that. You see what I mean? So there's a cause and effects between how much you pay for a game. If they make it so that people just buy the game, and then they kind of play for free, that's better than that. But I also think you need to share it across the board. So it's a 2-stage factor in my book.
Yep. I know Chris always was saying he wanted it to be free to play in terms of if you buy the game, there's no subscription.
Yeah.
I like that idea. I don't like the idea of subscription, but I can also see an element where you want to be able to police your, the toxicity of the community, and I don't know how you do that.
It doesn't mean it needs to be like exorbitant, like it's like $30 a month. Even if it's only just like $10 a month, so it shares the load. I just don't think whales should be relied on to pay for everything. and then by that same token, they can get banned like everyone else. If you share the load, then therefore the bans can be shared. You know what I mean? So the more invested you are in something, the more your behavior level increases. Right? It's the same thing when someone buys a ship, Algared. They are more likely to say positive things about that ship because they brought it. They've got to justify their purchase, right? It's the same thing as if you've purchased something, you're not going to fuck with it. You don't shit where you eat.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's the same thing.
Yep.
All right.
So, yeah. Anyway, John Ski.
Yep.
How much do you think it will cost for Star Citizen to license the Xenoform morph from the movies Aliens to add it to the game?
Oh, Disney.
Disney.
Too much. I think they charge 20% now.
Yeah.
And knowing Disney, they wouldn't just be happy with 20% of Xenomorph sales. They'd want 20% of everything.
Yeah. They would. Yeah. They would want the game.
Maybe that's the deal they can do with them if they end up making a Star Wars version of Star Citizen. Yeah. Oh, we want the Xenomorph.
Yeah, you want us to do Star Wars?
Yeah.
A Star Wars? Yeah, we want the Xenomorph. We want to be able to access your other assets. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see it. I think they'd be much better off just putting in their own monsters.
Agreed. I'm going to be honest. There is something a little. There is something about playing games that are based on the older franchises, but there's also something nice about saying something new. You know, something different.
Something, yeah. Because if you play something like if you come up against a Xenomorph from Aliens, you go, yeah, I know what that does. Yeah, I'm staying away from that. If you come across a creature you've never seen, you don't know what it does. You've actually got to, you've got to go experience it yourself, or YouTube, follow the YouTube. How do I defeat this creature? What on earth is this going to do to me? And
being in a game as well, you can actually make it truly alien. Why does it have to be... Essentially, the alien is a guy in a suit with a mask on, what's to say they can't have 12 legs? Or fly? Or,
I like the idea of you saw our alien helm, the alien helm we got in Squadron, the movie prop. What's to say we don't get that? That's our Xenoform, but we've got this virus that actually takes over and morphs the character into something else, and makes you have to. Yeah, your character's been taken over. You're dead. It's that. Can you get regenerated from that, or do you? Or does it? You get regenerated, and the zombie of you's out there as this Xenomorph. I'm just tossing ideas out there, but yeah.
They did talk about that, like space zombies and stuff like that. So
so lots of problems, and I don't know if they've talked about the WoW virus that killed everyone and the impacts of that, and they'd like to see I could see those types of things happening. So yeah.
What's Avery says with the last ISC showing off mines? Do you think they were for the Naught? They looked a little small to me. Was wondering if they were doing other mine ship. I also thought if they were personnel mines or vehicle mines, which is a no-brainer for a vehicle. Let's be honest. And then the gameplay of like diffusing mines in a single-player scenario, or we've got laser trip mines. Why couldn't there be mines like slightly under the sand or something like that? That'd be cool gameplay to actually come in and diffuse them or something like that, or even scan and find them. Would be kind of cool, because you go out on a mission at the moment, you physically see the laser, but if you're not looking and don't cautiously do a scan, you'll just run over them and kill yourself. So there's a gameplay in there.
You got to scan. You should have to scan for them, but that's just me.
Yeah.
And that's me being the person who runs into the ones I can see.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think you should have to scan for them. The ones we saw seemed to be more water mines or space mines, so they didn't seem to be land mines. But I think I'd love to see them. I'd love to see the gameplay. Did I think of the Nautilus? Yeah, I did think of the Nautilus. What size they were, couldn't tell because it was just them working on the screen.
It almost looked like it was the way they had it kind of expanding like that. It almost looked like it was like firing in all directions, almost like it was firing not shells, but just like shrapnel or debris.
I just thought those things were more the pressure points on the little wires were pressure points. But and certainly it did look like some of the early mines we'd seen.
Mm-hmm.
But what are they going to be? Don't know. What size are they? Don't know. Could it be the Nautilus? Yes. I'd like to think it's the Nautilus, and I'd like to think we're getting bigger mines for the Nautilus as well. But
yeah, time will tell. There's no way.
Yeah.
Well, again, you can narrow it down to what it can be, like we just did there. But yeah, need more questions, more answers. Sorry. Right, Red Samurai says, "How are you two doing? How's your health? Also looking forward to CitizenCon." I think we talked about a lot of this at the start of the stream, so if you want to go back and watch that, we really did talk a lot about how we were and stuff like that. As for CitizenCon, yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I booked my tickets during the week. Agrid's still got to book his, but yeah, you're looking forward to.
I'm looking forward to CitizenCon. I'm counting down the days. I am looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to being able to spend time catching up with people who I've met or known in the past, catching up with people who I know just from online.
Looking forward to
between the whole idea of
looking forward to pre-recording a whole bunch of episodes, so we've got content while we're away.
I'm looking forward to the whole aspect of enjoying CitizenCon, but also and I'm torn between that, wanting to present CitizenCon for the community, but also just wanting to go and enjoy and have fun. And
I think that'll be how we do it. We'll do a lot of kind of like a parrot on the shoulder camera, but I also think just between the panels we'll do like a, because you tend to have a 15-minute break between the panels. But hell, the panel might be us standing at the taco truck, getting our food while we're talking. So we're gonna rough it, right? But we're gonna do what other people haven't done before. So.
Our goal is to try and give coverage of what CitizenCon is actually like, rather than just the bits and pieces. But we also want to do what we usually do, where we watch the panel and then give our 15-minute debrief of what we think they were doing before going to the next panel. That may not be possible for us.
Worst case scenario, it'll be camera on the shoulder type of thing, and at the end of the day, we'll sit down and talk. And we've already talked to Paul and Space and Lucan about sitting down with them, for half an hour afterwards, just talking out what happened that day.
Yeah, it's one of the things we were talking about. One of the earliest things we talked about was just doing that end of day debrief. What were the things we liked? What were the things we didn't like? So
we'll see what the others are doing. We might even see if we can pull in some of the others during the day to talk to them and stuff. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, well, we know that we know that a few others are going to be there, so so we're looking forward to that. We want to do a bit of collab with people. So yeah. Masters. Oh, that's Red Samurai done that one. The death factor says Cutlass Steel or Rook DS. Which does Algared hate worse?
Yeah.
The Rook DS doesn't count. It's a vehicle.
That said, though, I out of all the ones that now I think about the Rock DS, I'd lose that more than the Hoplite, actually. It's the most. It should never have been put in.
No.
And it's
a tough call. I in terms of ships, I still say the Cutlass Steel, but Rock DS, I'd go as far as you. It shouldn't have been there. It's just I don't generally consider vehicles. The only vehicles I really consider are the Ursa Up.
Yeah.
Any others, I don't really. Don't even register.
Just to let you guys know, we've got like 24 minutes left, 22 minutes left, and we've got 2 questions. So we're probably more than likely going to go through those within the next 5 minutes. So if you want to get a question in, I would
imagine 2 questions left in. Yeah.
All right, let's be quick, Algared, then we can go have breakfast. Richard Wenborn says, how do you think server meshing will handle NPC crew? Example, if they get 10k player server mesh, but each player had 4 NPC crew, that drops the player count only to 2k, which is lowered. Yeah, well, a lot of the NPCs are reliant on server tech, and that's why most of it's done in a server simulation rather done on the actual thing. But as for the regards of the ship, you don't need to always see the NPC either. If the NPC is in a turret, what's it doing? It's just shooting. You don't need to see it animating any of that shit too, right? And if you're go ahead, Ogre.
If you're piloting the ship and it's doing a repair, you're not seeing it do the repair.
Yep. So you can
So
you can cut down the amount of entities required, so to speak, by culling them. Culling entities. So yeah, you can fake a lot of it in the background.
I think when we get the ship culling, where you're only seeing the things you can see, that will save a lot. And so it doesn't, the NPCs don't need to see what's going on.
Well, essentially,
They report that they're there.
They fall back into I actually need to think about that. It almost it's almost like a localized simulation would work. And what I mean by that is it would be getting commands from the server, but it only needs certain commands and not all. Again, it's culled. Again, they've obviously built that into their system along the way. I've never really thought about it extent locally. I really need to think about that.
Because I think of it, if I'm in the cockpit of an Carrack, I don't need to see the NPC in the engineering room.
Yes, but I'm talking about on a technical level, like the coding part. But yeah, that's how I'd be doing it. But I can't make the assumption that that's how they've done it. But
then if you are able to cull it down to that bare minimum, the only time you'd need to be there is when there was a player actually being able to see it. So
absolutely,
it may not have as big an impact.
Yep.
But it's something I hadn't thought about. It's not.
You still do need, like, again, if it's controlling the turret, you still do need those commands. But again, it's all possible. I think like a command of an NPC walking is probably a lot more complicated than a commander of look at target and shoot, if you know what I mean, because you can just track a target essentially. So yeah, I don't know. I'll have to think about that one. But yeah, it's all possible. But again, the culling will definitely be a part of it. I think we can agree on that. Right. All right, more questions, God. We shouldn't have said anything. Death Factor, do you think with AI voice generation on the rise, do you think CIG will license AI voices for mission givers for dynamic mission scenarios? Yeah, possible. Why would you do it all text-based when it can be voice-based? And they've got the face over the FOIP system. It seems like a no-brainer.
Yeah. I think they'll leverage whatever they can to make the game work and be good.
Yep. Agreed.
There'll be a day, I imagine, when you go back and say, I wish we had text-based missions. I wish we could find a book and just have to read the book and find the mission, rather than just having a voice. So
yep.
It goes both ways.
So GamerCap said, how did this... I think he's trying to say, how did the server meshing go, test go? Yeah, not best from what we've heard, and we didn't actually look at ourselves, so yeah. Sandgroper, we answered that. We answered
Death Factor's second question, which was, what functionality do you think a Crusader capital ship would have had, and do you think it'll be up in pre-sale at IAE?
Not for sale, definitely not. Yeah, it really depends on what is required, because there's still a few left, isn't there? Like the gas collector, the refinery. Looking at what they already do, though, it'd have to be something business-like, wouldn't it? Business or
I think if I was
transportation.
The Crusader capital ship, I'd love to see it's a Jupiter. Their carrier, their transport carrier for their big shipping ship.
Yeah, I just don't think we will, because it's too big.
And we also don't need it, because we've got small shipping ship, and we've got the...
Technically, Algared, I have to be an asshole, because I know you're going to hate this thought when I put it in your head, but the Ares is a thing too. They could do a combat capital.
They could.
And you would hate that. I know you would, but I'm just saying they could now.
Depends how they did it. Like the reason I hate the Ares is because it's that combination of, gun manufacturer and a ship manufacturer. And to me, it was the ideal, perfect option would have been... And they built the ship around the weapon. And to me, that was straight out of Kruger's playbook. It just that's the only reason I really hate it. But we do need a proper ground attack aircraft. We do need a proper Warthog type ship. But yeah,
it's tough because we don't know all the requirements. But again, you can kind of look at the ships we've got there. Because I can honestly be honest to say, I could see them doing a ship that's more focused around like the temperature controlled or agriculture or hunting. Like it would have to be one of those ships that we just haven't seen the full gameplay for. And I think that's where they'd probably go more likely with Crusader, something into the storage or agriculture or something like that, because that's in their purview.
If I was, here's a wild or a silly idea. It's a gamekeeper ship for the maintenance and care of the space whales, and so you harvest the and you use it to harvest, the items off them, but in a humane way. So you're caring for your environment because they're basically attached.
A buyer collection ship or something like that.
Yeah.
So you could even farm with it. You just come down to the field and go, and it.
Yeah. So it does that type of stuff, but it cares for and looks after a peaceful whaling ship, if you like. I don't know, but something along those lines I could see them doing. But that's my kind of dangling ideas.
Yeah. Sangroper asks, question, any potential issues you have ticking over in the back of your mind with your planned trip to CitizenCon? I think we kind of talked about this a little earlier. It was just like places I wanted to go, technical issues with streaming from CitizenCon. That's why I'm kind of looking to borrow a laptop, because that'll remove a lot of the technical hurdles if I can do that. Yep. It just means we can have a laptop running behind the camera. And essentially I can control it directly rather than having to rely on someone doing it remotely. Me and Agri can do it ourselves. I can just I can't pull it off here, but there's a Stream Deck here. I can literally just take that Stream Deck with me, connect it to, I can make a portable version of this OBS setup and literally have it on a USB stick and a Stream Deck, and I can literally just chuck it into any laptop and install the Stream Deck software, and then we're off to the races. So yeah, I've just got to get that all set up to do so, which won't take that long, but I can get that done.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. It's just they're probably the biggest things, and like you said, our planned trip is just working out the time, what we can do in the time we got. So one of the things I've been wanting to do is I was looking at doing tours of the combat, the World War I, World War II sites. Actual organised tours, but the last one that I've seen so far ends at the beginning of October. So it literally ends the day we arrive in Manchester is when it ends. So that's the type of thing, is how to fit all the things I would like to do in, and then looking at the price and having to scale back.
He wants to have his cake and eat it too.
I want to have my cake and eat it too. I do, because like you said, how often am I going to be able to get to Europe again? And so I want to do everything, because I'm not sure when I'll be able to get back, or if I'll ever be able to get back. So that's the problem I've got. I'm pretty certain it's a problem you've had, and you've come to terms with you're scaling right back, and I'm still.
Yeah, I just can't. There was places I wanted to go, and I'm just like, it would have been great to go to Germany and go to Essenspiel. It would have been great to go to Dublin, and I went, I'd rather just go hang out with people I know, like John, and just absorb in the one place. I'm not a traveler. So my mum, she'll go to a place and she'll change her hotel every day. And she'll go, so like I remember when we were kids, we went to Bali, and we would travel all around the peninsula of Bali, and say we're there for 2 weeks, and we'd be at 14 different hotels. And it drove me batshit, right? And then I went to my own first holiday that I ever went on, and I went to Cebu in the Philippines. I went to one place, and I was there for 28 days.
Yeah.
And I pretty much stayed in the same hotel the whole time I was there.
No, I'm the same.
So different to what my mum does. So
when I was in Bali doing a language course, I basically had one hotel, and that was it. I stayed there. Yeah. I don't like change.
I don't mind change. It's the physical travel. It just is so tiring. Like, I don't enjoy that. I want to absorb where I am, not just travel on an aeroplane. Or travel on a bus or a train. It's different if you're sitting on a train, I guess, and watching the countryside go by. But for me, travel is the people you meet, taking in the culture. Like one of the things my mum never did was she'd just go around and like see all the touristy shit. I would go to places like when I was in the Philippines, and I would just go into a little store or something like that and start talking to the local people, and they would show me their food. They would show me what they did day to day, and that's how you learn about people. You know, learn about. I'm more of a people person than a place person, I guess, is the way I would put it. Yeah.
No, 100%. It's but I'm one of those people. I don't like change. I don't like changing my routines. It definitely makes me think I'm on the spectrum. I really don't like those changes. Once I get there, I'm fine, but then I don't like changing it again. So I really, that's one of those issues I always struggle with. But
explains the smell of the underpants.
At the moment is working out what I'm doing and what I can afford. In terms of John Priest's question, how much time have I got? I have, because I've taken long service leave, I've basically got from the beginning of October to the beginning, if I really wanted, to the end of January is the time I'm off from work. So, but can I afford to spend all that time? No. And so that's the, so it's, So yeah. Anyway, Sand Grouper. Oh no, we've done that one. So Zayza says, is the Liberator the only transport ship with a jump drive? Also, can ships with jump drives fit through small jump points as well?
They have quantum drives that take you within a system, and jump drives are designed to go through jump points. As for other ships, yes, there are other ships, right? But if you start to think of why you would have a ship that can do a little bit of everything, why can it do ship pads? Why can it do vehicles? Why can it do cargo? Why can it do all the transportation things that are required in a certain game? And that's because it's going incredibly short distance frequently. It just makes so much more sense. Again, if you're going to do something long range, you tailor it to what you're doing because of the expense. So if you want to do a vast number of vehicles, you would take, or big vehicles, you would either take like a C2 or an M2 because it's got armored, or you'd take now the Ironclad because it does 4 of them. You see where I'm going with this? So again, you tailor the right tool to the right job. But if you are doing multiple things frequently,
then you're going to take the ship.
Then you need the versatility, and that's the only thing that makes sense. Unless you are super frequently going all the way across the system, right?
Yep.
Which I just don't see because you'll often be empty, right?
Yep.
So you might have some vehicles but not have the ships on the Liberator. But if you're going short range, it doesn't matter because it's a short expense.
Yep. But other ships that can do that, 890 jump, Carrack, as you said, the Hercules series,
The Kraken,
the Idris, the Javelin, the Polaris, they're all ships that are going to be able to do that type of stuff. So some ships are going to be better at it than others. Banner Merchantman. Other ships, some ships are going to be really good at it. Some are going to be less good at it.
Yep.
But all those ships we've mentioned,
we don't really have one super tailored that does everything like the Liberator, though. Cargo, vehicles, and ships, right? The only other one that I can think that even comes remotely close that could pull it off is the Kraken. And that is what, twice the size?
Javelin. Not Javelin, the 890 jump. It's got the hangar, it's got the cargo bay and the vehicle area. It can do cargo vehicles and
technically, but again,
it's 600i will do the same, but
technically, but it's bigger and does less. Is my point, right? So I'm talking it from an efficiency perspective.
From size factor, yeah.
There's anything else really like the Liberator. The only other one that is like the Liberator would be the Kraken, and again, it's like twice the size.
Yeah, and when you look at the 890 jump versus the Kraken, you're both looking similar hull size in terms of stuff. So the Liberator is the smallest ship we've got that can do all of that. But then the Kraken and the 890 jump can probably do bigger ships and bigger vehicles, and so it's picking the vehicle that does the job that you need.
The way you can tell if a ship does, and Algared kind of found this and brought it to my attention, is you can often see in a component thing, because the jump drives are not in game yet, but you can see the quantum drives, and if there's a little gap above its component slot, and it's got some little claws sticking up, that's where the jump drive will attach to the quantum drive. And not all ships have it. Some do, some do not. And you need to go through and look. And I think that that's going to be on a balancing. And it looks like a lot of the fighters or things that don't have internals are going to be the ones that don't get it. Because I don't quote me, but I think the cutter had it, didn't it, Algared, from memory? The cutter did actually have a jump drive. But yeah, the one I remember where you and I first saw it, though, was the C1 Spirit. That had one. Had space.
Yeah, I'd always say what, I'd tell you to go, you'd be looking at the component and I'll tell you, have a look at the quantum drive.
Yeah, well, we started looking at more and more, didn't we?
Yeah. If it didn't have the slot, you'd go, no, that's not got a jump drive.
Yeah, so you can tell again. If I had it here in front of me, I'd bring it up. But yeah, go and look at the Spirit's definitely the one that I know it does have it on it. But it's literally like half a component width above, and you can tell because it's got like an area where the quantum drive goes, and then there's a thing above it. So yeah. Right, moving on. That's
George Smith.
Yep, go for it.
George Smith says with 3.232 being changed to 3.24, do you think the third quarter patch being 3.24 rather than 4.0?
No, because 3.24 is the one coming next. As in, it was meant to be possibly going into Ivacati today. So no, that means 4.0 will be that patch that you're thinking of.
Yep, I just think they've just got more in the 3.24 patch than they were going to put in, and they've got more stuff ready and it can go, so they're just updating the patch to say Yep. We kind of already answered that one, so I'm just going to remove that one. Monster Avery says, do you think the last of the yellow slide ships, so yellow silhouette video from CitizenCon, the unknown particular will make it before CitizenCon AR? Yeah, absolutely. They kind of said we'll get that plus more. So we've got some interesting things come up. It's going to be interesting last half of the year. Like we've got that Near-Eye Guardian and whatever that smaller manufacturer ship is. Me and Algared will put if we're betting on black type of thing, Roulette would say it's an RSI advanced starter based on its size and that they don't have an advanced starter. But quite honestly, there's a few other manufacturers in there that it could be. And probably the other reason we think RSI is because they're working on RSI.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's like what they. It's like when they. It's like when they did the cutter and they were working on the Corsair and the Vulture and stuff like that. It's the same thing again.
Yeah, so that's the main reason we'd back RSI. If it was Anvil or if they were working on Drake, we'd say it's most likely a Drake ship. But even that doesn't look like it. But.
And I think more likely the other ships that we would see is probably bigger ships like we saw with the Ironclad. Now I've got to also ask this question: if we got a large ship at Invictus, I think we might be getting the first capital ship that we've got in a while. I think we might get potentially the one that would go between the Ironclad and the Kraken. And I did say this to you a couple of weeks ago. I think whatever that Drake Corvette is, or Drake Polaris, I think that might be what we're getting at CitizenCon.
If they switched to doing Drake after RSI, and they were doing the Kraken and the Ironclad, making a third one would make sense.
Yep.
I would still love to see them do that Anvil capital ship, the one that has been peaked and promised and hinted at for so long. I'd love to. I don't know what it'd be, but I'd like to see it.
I went back recently and watched some stuff where they were talking about when they do ships at concept now, they want to try and get them out with a certain time.
Yep.
The fact that the Ironclad's out now, I think is not. I don't think it's guaranteed, but it heavily leans towards Drake now. Because you've got the Ironclad and the Ironclad are sold, and I guarantee if they do another Drake concept at CitizenCon,
you can guarantee that's the next.
Guarantee that's what's coming. It also allows them to knock out the Kraken.
Yeah.
And that gives them some. The Kraken is not just something you go, oh, well, why do we need the Kraken? It essentially gives them another enemy ship for Pyro. So it's like the Idris of Pyro, but it also would allow them to use it in Squadron as well.
It also allows them to have another and bigger shipping ship.
Yes.
So it does. You can see it going tick, 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 tick to all the boxes you may want to do when you've got server meshing in. So
even the privateer and the fact that they were looking at the banner merchantman, it brings shops back in as well. I think shops has to be a big thing going into base building and stuff like that, and that's a huge part of the economy. And again, already having them out, it means that they don't have to go back and do smaller ships. So they don't have to do a solo shop ship yet. They can kick that can down the road and do the ones that they've already got. So I don't know. It's interesting to see where they'll go with it. But I have no. Well, put it this way, Algared, would you not be ears pricked up slightly by the sound of a Drake Corvette? I know I am. I would like the Ironclad was kind of interesting, but if a Drake Corvette come out, I would dump said Ironclad in a heartbeat and go for the Corvette.
Given that when we heard the Ironclad was coming and there was a large ship, I don't know about you, but my initial thought was, oh, this is a Drake Corvette.
Yeah, that was my first expression, but now I know.
Oh, hang on, it's too small to be a Drake Corvette. So
exactly, yeah.
And we know it's been hinted at. So I could see it. I could see it.
And it then fills out that Drake lineup, and it allows them to now. I will not say this publicly because of where I've heard it from, but what I'll say is I've heard things about the Ironclad and why it's being made, and it's got connotations of the Caterpillar. That's all I'll say. I'll leave it at that, and I'll tell you in private later.
I can believe that.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, if you're looking at companies of ships that are popular, Drake is one of the most popular ship manufacturers among the community. So
absolutely.
If you're trying to do something that engenders and builds income, you go with what works, what's popular, what's got the test of time, and so you go down that line. So
right, we've hit the 3-hour mark, but we've got 5 questions left. I've already killed the bot, so thank you for filling out the stream today. Appreciate it.
So unfortunately, if you have a dying question you must have answered, the only way to get it done is super chat. On YouTube and whatever you do on Twitch, but I have no idea.
So Sivan SC says, how are CRG going to differentiate player Idris from other NPC versions? E.g., hopefully they clean up the hangars so we have more usable space. I think it's going to simply be things like textures, so you can already see that they have a Xenothreat Idris, so that skin will probably be unique to Xenothreat. Now, can I go out and join Xenothreat and earn that skin? Potentially, but that already then tells you that player on the other side is a bad guy because you learn what their look is, so it works as well.
Of course. How are we going to differentiate player Idrises from NPC Idrises? Well, the internals of player Idrises are going to have spills all over them because we're not going to have the NPCs cleaning them all the time.
Yeah, and very simply, a little pro tip: if a person's got a space in their name, they're an NPC. Players can't have spaces in their names. So
there you go.
JB. Hey, that's my initials. That's not me. I never said that. Anyway, do you see the Mist Odyssey corridor they teased? Hey, I see. You might know what my last name is now. Anyway, they teased the newsletter. The Mist Odyssey corridor they teased in there. See, just kidding. What ship do you think it is? You've seen the picture. No, I have not. I will
the letter. Have a look at the letter. I did see a couple of questions earlier asking, have we seen the letter yet?
When was the letter sent, Roberts? I'm checking my email now, so if you hear a ding, that's why. Weekly update. Don't miss the... so this will be it. It was sent at 7 a.m. We were streaming. Of course we didn't see it.
Yep, of course we didn't see it.
Yeah. That's my email, by the way. What that noise was. Let's pull this up. Oh, that looks like a Zeus to me. Hang on.
Put it on
screen. Oh, no, yeah. Sorry, Algared can't see it. Hang on.
Yeah. Ship at the corridor. The only thing that makes me think it's a Crusader ship is the fact that it's so long. So they tend to have this thing for massive long... No, that's Crusader who have these massive long corridors of ships, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think people are saying the door... Well, I'm seeing the door, and the door does look MISC. Yep. The corridors look MISC too, because MISC has those oval corridors.
Yep. And the side panels kind of remind me of the lower side panels. They remind me of the...
I know what it is. I know what it is.
Yeah.
Mirai Guardian.
Yeah. Yeah, you're right. It would be the Mirai of a Mist Guardian, yeah.
It's the only Mist ship on the entire Silhouette video. And Mirai and Mirai,
by the end of the year.
yeah, being Mirai, why wouldn't it look Misk?
Yep.
It's the first Mirai ship we'll have with internals.
Yep.
Check myself to make sure I'm correct on saying that, but I think I'm correct.
We've only got the Fury and the
Razor.
The Razor.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a Mirai Guardian corridor.
And I would love that bigger ship to be and I know it's going to be corny, but a kind of a mothership for, you know, a snub carrier.
Yeah,
that's just me.
I don't think it's going to be.
No, it won't be. But that's me. That's me putting my
2 cents.
Babylon 5 Raider hat on and the things I wish for and long for. But yeah.
I don't know. Let me know in chat, guys. You think that's the what is colloquially known as the Mirai Guardian? I think that would have to be what it is.
You're right.
I can't think of anything else. Knowing it's in Grey Box 2 at the moment, that is looking like end of year.
Yep. Which also ties in with what they said, because John Cruise said about the ships in that yellow curtain. We will have them by the end of the year, plus more.
Yeah. So Pissball Pete's saying he reckons it looks Aegisy. Yes, but see the door down there, Pete? That is like a dead ringer of the doors off the Starfarer. And so Mirai and Misk share similar stylings. The corridors are that oval shape, like the chubbiness of the Mist ships. Yeah, it's got, and knowing what ships are out there, you got to look at what ships are out there. There are no Aegis ships in the yellow silhouette video other than the Retaliator. There's RSI across the board. The Mirai Pulse is already out. I've got to assume it's the Mirai Guardian. That's just based on the ships that we know that are coming.
Yeah, and we're just using the yellow curtain ship to kind of give us the as our factor there.
What is the actual? Let me go back to my email. It just says hold the door. Is the
Hodor? It's the Hodor ship. It's going to be called Hodor.
Hold the door. Yeah. Older Aegis ships do have the padded corridors, but see this beam here too on the whole series. They have these kind of like these rails as well. That's so when they said Misk, I was in the same ballpark, and now I see the railings, and that little window is very. The only other ship that I know of that has a window at all that I can think of is the Anvil Valkyrie's got that, that special glass one, Algared, but Misk is the only one that I can think of that actually has a window like that. So when I go to Misk and Mirai, and knowing that Mirai, there are no Mist ships on the silhouette video, I have to think it's the Mirai Guardian.
The Retaliator's doors have that little window as well, don't they? From memory.
It's true, it does have a one like that, but the corridors are vastly different from the Retaliator corridors.
Yeah, because the Retaliator's corridors feel like you're scrunched. Feel like you're going for a coal, not a coal store, a Franklin store,
Yeah. Yes. Reclaimer does have those slanted hallways, but it's also got all this padding and shit along, and it doesn't have any of that. And then most other, they tend to be a lot of padding on the Aegis ships.
And as Isaac said, it looks like a hull B door, and hull B is Misk, so
well, I thought of Hodor straight away as soon as it said hold the door. What a Hodor? I'm just wondering if hold the door is definitely a reference to Hodor. I'm just trying to think of, is there anything? Well, Algared, you'd be the person to ask. In lore, is there anything called Hodor?
I'm aware of. I'd have to go look, but I thought of Hodor and called it the Hodor. I named it as I named the ship Hodor because of hold the door, but but what is it? I have no idea. Could it be a Starfarer work? That would be the other option they could be doing.
Well, what does it mean to hold the door for someone? It means to be, you know, kind of like polite or chivalrous or something like that. So I start to think of it, is it a hint of what the name of it could be? To guard someone, to be chivalrous, to guard. See what I mean? Guarding, mirror. I don't know. I'm just wondering.
So, well, if it's to
Yeah.
guard someone, then you go, oh well, guardian, because it's guarding them, it's protecting them. Hold the door. Yeah, I can't.
Yeah. We haven't had any word that they're working on the Odyssey. I know a few people have said the Odyssey.
And people have said the Starliner again. I haven't heard them talk about the Starliner. I haven't heard them talk about the Starfarer as a rework. I know
anything else will be a guess or hoping, because the only one that I can. You tell me, Algared, of everything we know they're working on, the only thing is the Guardian. There isn't anything else.
Well, I go back to the fact that they said at the end of last year, after they did their ship review and they showed us the ships that were coming, John Crew said these ships will be out within a year. These are the planned ships for the next 12 months and more.
Yeah.
Now, of all the missed ships, or Mirai ships, we've already got the Fury, so it's certainly not that, and it's in internals. We've got this big Mirai-looking ship. That is a large ship when you look at the size of it compared to the little person. That's the ship with internals.
Yeah.
It makes sense to say, if I'm hedging my bets, to say this is that ship. It could be an Odyssey. It could be a Starfarer. It could be a Starliner. We haven't heard anything that indicates that, and so I lean towards that as well. But
yeah,
I'd love to see a Starfarer work.
You got to lean to what you know, because otherwise you go down those you go into the weeds. Yeah.
Yeah.
And we've just learned to limit. The more you limit it, the more realistic it becomes. And knowing that that's the only one out there. But again, no Aegis ships out there. Let's look at Crusader. The only other Crusader one could possibly be that new kind of advanced starter. So it could be that. They're the two I'll give you from the Silhouette video. The advanced starter or the Miro Guardian. I think that's the only two I'd be betting on Algared if I was betting.
And my guess would be that corridor's too big for that advanced starter. The advanced starter feels a smaller ship.
It would literally be a corridor and nothing else.
Yeah, and so that to me counts. You know, if we're talking the ships in that yellow curtain, that one kills that one. So the only one that really seems to fit is that Mirai, the ship we call the Mirai Guardian.
Yep, and I'd probably bet a bunch of money that there are components behind these bits here. Because even in a medium ship, a corridor of that size is quite substantially large.
Unless that's also a cargo section of that ship, you know. So don't know.
Yeah.
What, you know? Yeah. Hold the door. Is it the
I wonder if it's a play to its name. That's all I'm saying. Like, what, you know, and what does it mean to hold the door? Like, and usually there are like the clues that they had previously are usually a couple of steps removed. So you've got to think a little bit outside the box, and that's why I started to think like, what does hold the door mean? What are you doing when you hold the door? You are being courteous, polite. You are being chivalrous. You are, and then that's why I started to get leaning into words. And then I just thought, well, guarding is kind of being chivalrous. So. Right.
You're a fleet ship. There you go.
Yeah. It could be a serving protection ship. Absolutely. It could be a bounty hunting ship. Absolutely. Again, couple of steps removed. Death Factor. Death Factor says, "Do you think we'll ever see the Drake Lobster? Jake Acton was hounded CIG and John Crew for years about it. I think it was a joke.
No, the Drake Lobster was that red ship in the original. Yeah, the vertical ship was in the back, and that was just an asset that they had paid for in the original stuff. So
they can't use it because it's a.
They can't use it. They can't build it. So no.
Yeah, there's commercial connotations with that. Death Factor also asks, last question: what will you eat for breakfast? Thank you for the stream. Shit, I don't know. I tend to walk out the kitchen and go, what food do I have? I do know I need to go to the supermarket and pick up milk though, because I won't be able to have any more tea. So I'm going to be honest, I'm probably going to go to the supermarket first. What about you, Algared?
Black tea with honey is a nice way to have tea, by the way.
Yep. I have Lady Grey. You know what that is? By Twinings. It's very British of me.
Twinings, Lady Grey.
Yes, that's what I drink.
Because you're such a lady. Yes, okay.
Yeah.
That was rude.
And don't you forget it. Right. Last question of the day is Happy Bob, who says, "Oh, what are you going to have for breakfast, Algared? I forgot to ask that."
Probably the usual porridge, because it's cold.
Dead people. He eats dead people for breakfast. That's his usual thing. Or do you eat shit for breakfast? That's what.
Soylent Green. Yep. Soylent Green.
Soylent Green. All right, Happy Hour Bob. Last question of the day says, if Misk Raptor was real, would you plead for it? Do you think others would? I think others would 100%, Algared, don't you?
Hmm?
Yeah, and he says, I would. I'd drive that thing around Area 18, cleaning up all the empty bottles and litter could turn it into an RMC. I think people would absolutely. I actually think it is probably a part of the janitor gameplay they've talked about. It's definitely something they've built as an art asset to probably have in the back of Squadron 42. That's why they had it there to put on the website and stuff. So I think eventually you'll see NPCs driving around in it at the very least, but I would hope that that's something that they bring over to PU, because I think that's the idea, isn't it, Algared? They want you to be able to kind of start from 0 to hero all the way up.
I would love to have that cleaning ship, and I'd go through, Old Man Hurston would have people going through Hurston cleaning up some of the rubbish, because you can recycle that crap.
Yeah.
There's money in that waste. So yeah.
I can now not get the Beverly Hillbillies tune out of my head now that you said that, but anyway. Yeah. There's gold in there, Hill Hills. That
gold in the hills.
Yeah.
Oh, now
we'd have to get an Algared with a banjo at some point. Right. All right. I'm going to find someone to raid on Twitch. Is there anyone in particular that we would want to raid Twitch? Let's have a quick look. What are we looking for? We no. I don't want to make noise. Stop. I want to make noise. Right. Yeah, because I can't see the screen. We've got Expat. Now we don't get to raid Expat very much, so we might do that. You don't want
to raid her.
All right. So you'd love to raid her. I know what you're like. And he's not talking on the computer. Hi to low. Here we go. Burks is on. Talix, that's a new person that's jumped on too. There's a new guy called Talix, and he's obviously come from another community. He's got usually has 400 plus people on Twitch, so we've got another big contender that's moved over. Loken's on, Expat's on. Trying to think of other people we know. Zero States just kicked it off. Yeah, I think we're going to go Expat because we haven't rated Expat in a while, so we will do that. Right. /raid Expat.
Raid her stream and start asking questions.
Yeah.
Oh, we raid the stream.
Ask her where she's going to take the Inforunners around the UK when we come to visit. Subtly, just push that in.
Yeah. When are you going to take the Inforunners?
Yeah. Where are you going to take us? What tour guide? When are you going to be tour guide? Where are you going to take us? Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Twitch should go say I can't speak. I'm losing my voice. Right. Twitch say goodbye to YouTube. YouTube say goodbye to Twitch.
Bye, Twitch.
Bye. Have a good week. And they're gone. Right. YouTube, don't forget to like, subscribe, ring that notification bell, and thank you for those that went the extra mile at the end of the video on Patreon. With that, then, I've been Execute. He's been Algared.
And we're out of here. Take care.
See you, citizens. Sorry, I stuffed that, Algared. Bye.
I know you did. You're okay.